What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another exciting episode of the True Earth Debates, the open panel. We're excited to get things rocking and rolling here in just a moment. But first, we want to do a quick shout out to all you lovely ladies and gentlemen who have decided to join us this evening. We've got our thumbnail posted kind of last minute, so apologies for that. But what are you going to do, right? So, first, let's go ahead and start with the Rockfin. We got 7 legends over there so far. That's going to jump up here pretty quickly. We got Jeremy Bird, much love, my friend. Gershom Gross, man. Someone needs to get war mode here. Bill is a flat earther now. I wonder who he's referring to. Bill Gates? Surely not. Justin Johnson, what is up, my friend? Let the flat smacking begin. Absolutely. While I'm here, I'll go ahead and post that link for you guys. We got the open panel. That means everybody is welcome into the Zoom, but we got the rules and now introducing, of course, once again, the audience veto. So if there's a guest that people really just don't vibe with or don't like what they're saying, then they have the ability to censor now. But it's not me. It's the audience. So you're going to have to deal with that. Anyway, anywho, let's go ahead and jump on over to the YouTube. And while I'm in the process of pinning this, not adding a moderator, not that. Pinning the message. Boom. Awesome. Let's go ahead and shout you legends out here. We got RTH. We got Gary Wabenga. Welcome. James Ostrom. Boo Ranch. At Earth. I haven't seen that. Okay. I thought it might have been like Dearth or somebody trying to copy the name for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. See that quite a bit. But nope. RTH is their own person. Awesome. Lee B, Justin Johnson, much love, my friend. We're going to be shouting out that fundraiser here in just a moment because you guys are doing tremendous with that. So much love from the community. It's unreal. We also have Butch Camper, Rashad. We also have Yates, 2K, JK, Tommy. Lots of legends. Everybody in the chat on this stream is a legend, by the way. So, Tapered Bodies, Nuba, Roger Kelly, and James the Cook Guy. What is up? Much love to all of you. We got an exciting show. We're going to be opening up the lines, letting in Globers and Flatties alike. And hopefully we can get a dynamic conversation. Just recently stumbled across an article that claimed the Earth has shifted 31.5 degrees in the around the year 2000 due to all the oil drilling that we did. Seems ridiculous on its face, right? I don't know why anybody would believe that. Surely, if the Earth were wobbling, tilting, all this craziness, processing, right, we would surely see that over time in the sky, right? And they claim to, but I have never seen anything like that. Polaris always seems to remain in the same spot, not shifting. Super fun. All right, let's go ahead and check on the old Zoom here. Anybody jumped on in? We got the waiting room enabled, so you can't just barge on in, luckily. All right. Oh, nice. We got Jim. Waterworld, what is up, my friend? Welcome to the show.
Always seems to remain in the
bad
same
echo.
spot.
There you go. Always got to remember to mute the show. All right, let's go ahead and get us pulled in here, get things underway. Guys get to have just a quick old look at the back end. What can you do? All right. All right, we are firing on all cylinders. Jim, welcome to the show. You are a regular here, so we obviously know where you stand. Welcome in. Did you happen to get a chance to see that article? It was actually posted in the Miswits group chat.
People will believe a big lie rather than a little lie. And if you tell the big lie often enough, sooner or later people will come to believe it. So
I don't know where on earth you would get an idea like that.
I think it was Goebbels talking to, I think it was Langer talking to Goebbels, or Goebbels talking to Hitler. So that's supposedly where it came from, the Nazis.
Oh wow. Well, we got to watch talking about the Nazis now with the ad suitability
Yes,
and all. So I'm just kidding.
yes,
That's
yes,
one of the
yes.
best. I didn't think that when you monetize the channel, that when you do the ads, that they're gonna just load up your live streams, just absolutely load them down. I feel like that's something new because it used to not be like that, and it seems like the last couple weeks on everybody's stream just about, it's been just loaded down. What are you gonna do though?
Did you see last Monday when we had? I think you probably did when we had Professor Parks on. I think you've gotten 12 or 1300 views since then
Oh wow,
from that one show.
yeah, that's great. Did I see it? I don't know, man. Maybe I wasn't here.
I mean, no, no, no. Did you see the number that that was 12 or 1300? Obviously, you were here, but I wonder if you knew how many up to date views there were of it. Quite a few.
Nice, dude. Yeah, we're definitely looking to have more people with credentials on. We're going to be out on the hunt. And just like Jorge Physics over on TikTok, I think he's a great guest to have on as well. Um,
Is he going to come on here sometime?
I'm sure he will. I look forward to seeing him on the In the Field series that Witsit does.
Yes.
Should be
Uh
a dynamic conversation. The great thing about
huh.
George, of course, is that he also doesn't really believe in dark matter, right? So he's like one of those globe Earth zealots, and I would say zealot because he sticks with it pretty hard. Um, but he doesn't fall for all of the craziness of the of the paradigm. He's like, nah, dark matter, that's too crazy. It's got to be something else.
He still lies to children, and NASA and Space Force spend $136 million per day while we lie to children, and 9 million people across this God's stationary plane starve to death every year.
That's unfortunate. You know what else
Yep.
is unfortunate? Speaking of like stealing money from good causes, right? I had Brenda on the on the Fight the Globe edition. If anybody hasn't seen that yet, that's a great time. Us taking on the Discord server. Probably going to do a bit more of that. But the thing was, Brenda comes on and says, "Why am I blocked from your chat? I'm a paying member." Now, normally, paying or non-paying, right? If you were gifted the membership or not, I really don't care. I think that if you're a member, that you should have access to the chat, right? My personal opinion. However, Brenda straight lied to everybody's faces when they said that they were a paying member, right? Because we know that they were not gifted. They were most likely gifted the membership, I think, from Justin Johnson. I'm not sure, but in any case, it was it was pretty funny. I'm gonna be making some clips. We got some great concessions, such as that Brenda is a true earther, and the Earth is indeed flat, and that there is no evidence for the globe Earth. So, I mean, if you don't believe me, go back and watch. They're time stamped. Somebody was nice enough to comment it in the video, so I'm gonna go and clip those out here pretty soon. Should be good.
And Ruhev told 24/7 Flat Earth Discord that, I think it was yesterday, that the globe is a hypothesis.
Of course.
Yeah. So Brenda and Ruhev are giving in.
Oh, dude, are they packing it in?
They're packing it
Wow,
in.
buddy, that's awesome. Before we do go any further and get some more guests on, I do want to take a second to shout out this tremendous fundraiser that has been happening. Um, Lots of love for the Tribune tribe, and specifically, I will specifically shout out Mr. Jeremy Bird for setting this up. So here is the Flattoberfest fundraiser. There are a lot of you truthers out there. You're true earthers. over on the West Coast, and it's very hard for me to be able to get over to that side because I'm over in sunny Florida. So, and things have become much more difficult now that I've lost my main source of income. Doing the trutherverse antics, if you will. But here, let's go ahead and shout out the positivity over here because we have a great fundraiser, 19 donations already. We've raised $965 of the $3,000 goal. And of course, we
That's
got
awesome.
it's absolutely awesome. We got Justin Johnson, Anonymous, Melanie Wonderly, Jeremy Bird, of course. I'm trying to scroll on the thing, and maybe it's down here. Jaron Campanella is a contributor as well. Wants to make sure that I'm real, and I think that that's a noble goal as well. How else will you know if I'm not just a character created from Chat GPT plugins and animated with the state of the art AI animation that surpasses anything on the market because it's from the government. All right. We also have Thomas Yates for a tremendous donation, Thomas, $300. Huge shout out. Let's go ahead and see all these real quick. We'll give all you legends a shout out. Thank you for contributing to the cause. Let's go ahead and there we go. Boom. Justin Johnson, Anonymous, Melanie, Jeremy. We got Thomas Yates, Andrew Baker, of course, David. We got Robert. $100 donation. My goodness, lots of generosity here. And if you can't do that much, it's absolutely fine because a little bit does go a long way. Jaron, Michael or Michelle, I can't remember what that is. Terrible with names. I think I've said that before. Of course, we have Carrie, Robert, Jeremy again, David Weiss with a $200 donation. That's tremendous. And Cammie Nodell. This is gonna be awesome. I can't wait to meet you guys over at Flattoberfest. It's gonna be awesome. Israel Kane and Jeremy Bird again. Awesome, guys. Huge shout out. If you would like to participate in this fundraiser, I'm going to go ahead and share it. Computer's acting just a little bit slow. Not really sure why that is, but we'll go ahead and copy that. And yeah, sorry, I'm display capturing, so you guys just get to see everything for the moment. But what are you gonna do, right? Here we go. If anybody wants to participate, there is the link. We do appreciate it. And hopefully, if any Globers that want to hop on, we'll go ahead and have taken this opportunity to do so. All right. That's enough of that. That is enough of that. Much love, guys.
Who is that gentleman's name that was on last week with Rob Parks that finished up? I'd love to have him back. What was his name?
Oh, absolutely. That is Mr. Robert Hunt, and he does do a pretty good job as well. So he usually watches, leaves a comment. I don't know if he watches live or catches it afterwards, but he's usually over on Rockfin. So huge shout out to him for supporting all the content creators out there, even though we disagree, right? And that's totally fine. He still supports the conversations with his just his subscription and watching, right? So we do appreciate that, and we appreciate everybody who does that. In fact, if you're a truther out here and haven't, gotten a Rockfin account, not really sure exactly what you're doing. It's it's not just that it's an alternative platform that you're uncensored with, but it's also that they're dealing with the crypto, right? Which is just complete financial freedom. People really need to get on board with that because it's just what's coming. I actually agree with Jaron 100% on the crypto. You just got to be really careful about which ones you go with because you could end up having a bad time. Anyway. Well, we'll give the Globers probably like what should we do? 10 minutes. We'll give them 10 minutes to hop on in. If not, we'll go ahead and maybe move it over to Discord or something and try to get some people in to have the conversation. But I know that you guys are out there. I know you watch the show. So just click that link.
Globers are out there, all right. Come on in, guys.
Strong refutation that I haven't heard a debunk for yet was the evidence offered by Brian Leak the other day. The star the star constellation Orion, which it can be seen somewhere on the Earth all year long. It's actually pretty simple. If you're moving to opposite sides of the sun, then you should see completely different stars. For half of the year, but we don't. So what are you gonna do? Am I coming through all right, or is it all like chopping and whatnot?
No, I can hear you just fine. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
You're
cool.
really good.
Yeah, because it's kind of like slow on my end. So I think there might be because of the storm that's going overhead. Hopefully, we don't lose our power.
Yeah, you have outer space satellite interruption.
It's the well, when you have to bounce it between satellites that are moving at bullet speeds around the Earth,
Yes.
um, bouncing the signal at the speed of light, right? I imagine it can be pretty challenging to keep a steady signal, but
And I think you have to take into account time dilation too. So we got to watch out for that stuff.
the time dilation. Everybody says that. All the
Yeah, they
satellite
do.
people and physicists like we have to take into account the time dilation. It's like
They do. And they also say it on airplanes as well, for airplanes as well.
that's so dumb. What
It's
do
the
they mean?
stupidest thing.
Like, what do you mean exactly when you say you're calculating for or that you're taking into account the time dilation? Like, does that mean that you like are leading the shot a little bit because you're expecting a delay, or do you not lead the shot because time is going to delay into it? Like, I'm not, I don't follow.
The time dilation, in a lot of cases, has to deal with gravity and what the gravitational, what do you want to say, deals with. I don't know. It's kind of like Pound Repka in 1960. They had at the Harvard's Jefferson Tower, and they had a 72.5 meter tower, which is 73 feet 9 inches. And they shot photons going north, up and down, which was red shift, blue shift. And supposedly that the red shift, blue shift of the photons came out to 0.00000073 736 meters per second. So it's extremely, extremely light. For another example, is there is a atomic clock in Boulder, Colorado, which is 5,400 feet tall. There is also an atomic clock in London. Over the course of 1 year, the difference in those two clocks, they tell us, is 5/1 millionth of a second, give or take 1/1 millionth of a second. So they tell you these things to keep relativity alive, and there's no way to prove it, but they go ahead and tell you anyway. Therefore, you believe in relativity. There's even the situation because of the size of the Earth and how close the equator and the North Pole are relative to the center of the Earth, that there is time dilation over 100 years of 0.03 seconds. Over 100 years, 0.03 seconds, because one is slightly closer to the center of the Earth than the other. That's how crazy this is.
That is absolutely wild. You're counting the smallest increments that you can't even imagine of a second. How do you know that? First off, here's my thing. I mean, I already know, right? Because I'll ask the question anyway. The how do you know the cause of the little bit of split second difference in the clocks? Like, how do you know that time actually dilated and that there wasn't an error in the just in the mechanism?
If you move, what happened with Hafele, Hafele Keaton in 1971, they looked east-west and saw time dilation, but they moved the clocks off and on planes 6 times of the 4 clocks they used. Any movement whatsoever can cause it to go off. And you know what the interesting thing is? They never looked north-south because, they said it was something to do with the magnetic pull of the globe. The real reason is there is no north-south.
Interesting take. I did take a second to get this article found, which was absolutely hilarious. I also some videos that we could watch as well while we wait for these Globers to jump on in. But this stuff, you can't make it up here, from Axios. That sounds like an AI article. We'll see. Either way, this claim seems absolutely ridiculously fantastical to me. You have groundwater removal tilted the earth 31.5 inches.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Literally. Okay. Oh, look at this. This right here, they're claiming is a true color satellite image of the earth. Image was compiled from data acquired by Landsat 5 and 7 satellites. Totally looks hand-drawn. Let's go ahead and click onto this. Will it make it bigger? No, it won't. Okay. No worries. All right, let's read on. We got spin of the planet tilted 31.5 inches to the east between 1993 and 2010 due to humans pumping groundwater, according to new study. Jim, the first thing that comes to my mind is that 31.5 inches is by no means a small amount, right? This is an incredibly noticeable amount. And they're saying that we just found this in a new study. Wouldn't we have been hearing about this the whole time?
They want people to think that science is taking care of them. That's why they change the distance to Polaris every single year, is because they want us to think that they're looking out for us and that science takes care of us. So that they'll come up with all these unbelievable numbers and you'll go, really? Thank you, science. It is all bunk. Now, somebody's putting this stuff together somewhere and releasing it. I have no idea where.
Some computer hive mind somewhere, I'm sure.
It could be.
1 second here. All right. So, Earth's rotational axis, blah, 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 naturally drifts, but its direction shifted east in the 1990s, attributed. What's the previous research? That'll be something fun to do. Let's click that. What's the previous research here? Where's it going to take me? Geophysical research letters. Okay, polar drift in the 1990s explained by terrestrial water storage. Wow, is this not an AI article? This is real? Wow, I was going to try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Okay, this was corrected on May 17th, 2021. All right, we got the abstract key points. Past climate-driven polar motion was quantified by modeling terrestrial water storage under two different scenarios. One scenario was based on GRACE, blah, 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 don't care. Rapid terrestrial water storage, decline, ice melting, global warming, lock down the planet. All right. Yeah, okay, so I just wanted to check that. Okay, it seems like the research is real. We'll go ahead and read on. This is absolutely hilarious. Researchers model how the drift in Earth's axial change. It's the same thing I just read. They're just putting the poles back. My goodness. Okay. Sorry, I'm hearing my son have a rough bedtime in the background. I do apologize for that. Okay. Pole has drifted towards 64, blah, 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 4.36 centimeters due to the groundwater depletion. 4 whole centimeters. Wow. So none of the astronomers and things have like referenced this. There's a fourth wobble essentially that has happened. We have the precession of the equinox. We have the nutation from the moon. And then we have the Chandler's wobble. And now we have whatever the heck you want to call this. Wow. Over time, though, the drift could affect the planet's climate change. Wow. All right, writing on the wall. They're literally saying now that our consumption of water, right, groundwater removal, right, because we remove the groundwater in order to pump it into our homes. And so because we're doing that, we're messing up the climate. So we're going to have to stop using water. This is absolutely ridiculous. Okay. Not going to read any more of this. You guys get the idea. Absolutely
I'm
hilarious.
I'm going to have an assignment for myself next week to get Rob Parks as assistant, who I think I DM'd you about, to come on the show on Monday nights. I'm going to work on that this week for next Monday. We'll see if I can get him on here.
Very cool. What's the time looking like? We probably got, what, like 2 more minutes? I don't think any Globers are going to hop on. We're going to have to move this to Discord.
Where do you move it to Discord? Which server?
That is a good question. I think that we have a really good shot over in the Earth Awakenings server.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Which one would you
Yeah.
recommend?
Well, Earth Awakenings will give you Globers.
That's what we want. We want some Globers. We want them to call us liars and shills and larpers, and not actually address any of our arguments.
And there's something else, maybe just for future reference. If you get hold of Mayhem on 24/7 Flat Earth Discord, he's starting the arena, which is debates, between Globers and Flat Earthers. He announced it about a month ago.
I like the name.
So yes, the arena, exactly. And so it's possible that not only can you get Earth Awakenings, you might get 24/7 Discord to kind of come in contact with your podcasts and maybe do something on the server there, because they're on the Rumble now. They're on Rumble and obviously on YouTube.
Yeah, we will be getting stuff moving over there as well. YouTube is great and all, but obviously we all know that is a sinking ship. So, but we will do what we can in the meantime. But all right, guys, last call, Globers, last call. If you are in the chat, if you are on Rockfin, if you are on YouTube, right, you're about to lose your chance to come on the show, because the show must go on, right? And this is the True Earth debate, not the True Earth conversate, right? So if no one's going to jump on, then we will move along and keep this show going. I know that there's people arguing this right now on Discord, so this is what it is. No hard feelings, of course.
Well, I'll get Professor Parks assistant over here next week. When we get done here, I'll send Rob Parks a DM on Discord and say, please, we need to get some quality over here.
Beg him, dude. Get on your knees.
Yep. He's really cool. He's really cool guy. We gave him a hard time last week. He was really cool guy on the Discord DM when I spoke to him. He was really cool.
Dr. Law, you and I both know why the Fed is not the 100% best arena for the True Earth debates, unfortunately. There's too much muting, too much just name calling and aggressiveness. It's ridiculous. How are people supposed to feel like they're getting a word in edgewise when they just keep getting cut off? Regardless if they're right or wrong, right? Let the person at least make the stupid argument, right? But sometimes he does, right? I actually really do enjoy Nathan Oakley. I've gotten a lot of information from him and watched a lot of the debates. So, no hard feelings, no hate, of course. But there's a reason why I started doing the channel the way that I do it, right? So we are looking to have a fantastic arena, if you will. Show us your ball, Ralph. That's super funny. Boats over the horizon. Ralph, jump in the box, dude. What are you doing? You're just going to be a keyboard warrior? Or am I misinterpreting? No, he says Earth is a globe. Dude, jump on, you coward. Just kidding. It does take some balls to come on a channel, right? Especially if you're not really 100% that you could argue it really well, in which case you're just going to have to admit that you believe in a religion, right? And that's fine. Everybody's got those. Probably not going to hop on in, though. I'd be pretty intimidated, dude. We got Jim Waterworld in here.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
He's a flat.
I'm gonna give Alan a plug. If you haven't seen Alan's how math became reality, on his space audits YouTube, how math became reality. Please watch it. It's very good.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, with that dashed hope, right? We're gonna go ahead and move it on over to Rockfin. No hard feelings. This will take us, or not Rockfin. Sorry, Discord, right? Rockfin, you stay put. YouTube, you stay put. You're both gonna get to enjoy the show. Jim, I imagine I will see you over in the channel.
Okay.
We're gonna go over to Earth Awakening's Discord server. Anybody who knows that channel, if you can go ahead and drop the link, that'd be fantastic because some people do like to go in there. Hopefully, though, they are actually debating the globe versus flat Earth. That's the only thing. We don't know what they're debating. Excuse me. All right.
So,
Everyone.
Hey, thanks, Troubling. We'll put something together next Monday.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for coming on.
Okay.
All
Take
right,
care.
guys. Yes, sir. Everyone is a stationary Earth, planar Earth. That's super funny. All right. Let's go ahead and, well, before I do, let's one last check. No, it's really nobody. Just a little old me in here. All right. Let's go ahead and get it. We do enjoy a good Discord debate, so here we go. Let's go ahead and get right on in. Got people in here already. Perfect. Not really sure what's going on. Let me make sure there's not a live event going on or something. What is this? Nope. Okay. What the heck is going on?
Is no one talking in Discord because everybody's out there talking to real people? Like,
That's what I was actually just about to ask. I mean, is everybody watching something, or I'm here to debate the shape of the Earth.
I'm gonna go have some interface with some real people.
I've already done all that today. Who in here's a glober? I see this guy with the globe in the hand and the eyes.
Yeah, but his handle is flat T.
What are you gonna do? Is even anybody in here even listening? I'm doing a live show right now. There's a huge audience on YouTube and Rockfin right now looking to have the shape of the Earth debated.
There's nobody. Huh?
There's literally nobody. I recognize some of you in here.
What you got? Tell us what you got.
Oh, dude, do we got a live one?
What
What
you
you're
got?
looking for.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah, dude.
Tell us, what are you shopping for?
Try-
What are you in business for?
Trying to do a true Earth debate. Trying to argue about the shape of the Earth.
Okay. What's the shape of the Earth?
Well, what do you think the shape of the Earth is?
I don't have a shape. I don't think there's a shape. I don't think anybody knows the shape.
Ah, dang. Then
How about you?
yeah, we're on the same side for the most part. Flat earther.
So you think the Earth is flat?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. He's a huge flat earther, super flat, 2D.
2D earther.
2D. Nice.
He's a 2D bumpy earth.
Can you prove the flat Earth?
Stationary topographical plane. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. We don't measure any curvature. We have radio waves, microwaves, line of sight. We have mirror flashes. We have, I mean, what else? There's also a whole bunch of globe debunks, right? That just debunk the mainstream model. So, I mean, there's Orion being visible somewhere on the Earth all year long. as an equatorial constellation. That's impossible on a globe that's moving around the sun. What else? Never measure any motion, right? We have the Michelson-Morley that made all of science do a huge backflip instead of just accepting the fact that the Earth wasn't moving. So we can start anywhere you guys want.
I'm on
I
board
mean,
with
we're
a
all
lot
on
of
the
that
same
stuff, but
page.
still, shape. I didn't hear anything about shape.
We're on the same page pretty much, so yeah.
Shit.
Kosho might be up. There's some Glovers in here though. If you're down at the beta shows.
Yeah, there's a few of those claims there that the globe model doesn't claim to be a thing, like feeling motion. The globe model says you shouldn't feel it because it's such a gentle motion that you wouldn't feel it.
What do you want to do? A quick one-on-one with left lane? Down left lane?
Yeah, we could talk.
Nice. It's always nice to have a nice cordial conversation.
Yes, yes.
Fight to the death.
To
1,
the-
2, 3, go.
To the death. Everybody grab your weapons.
Motion.
All right, hold on. I'm switching my OBS over. Just so you guys know.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
Nice. Yeah, we are live streaming on my YouTube and Rockfence, just so you guys know.
All right, give these 2 guys room, guys. Don't jump in.
Nice. I mean, if other Globers want to jump in, that's totally fine. I can definitely hold my own, but just don't be interrupting people so that people can actually land their point. That's one thing I can't stand is when somebody gets interrupted mid-sentence. Yeah.
Roger.
So why do you think we should feel Earth rotation?
Well, it's actually just a simple logical point, right? So if we don't feel motion, typically when you don't experience something, you wouldn't expect that something to exist, right? So since we don't feel motion, we shouldn't really expect there to be motion. And there's no real evidence of motion. It's just inferred from the motion of the sky. So, yeah, I think that there's no way to prove that we're moving, and thus it would be just as fair to say we are not moving.
Well, I mean, Earth's rotation rotates once per day, which is, even though it's tangential velocity is 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, it's sort of a constant thing. The atmosphere rotating with the Earth, it's maybe at a constant speed. So, if you stand in your backyard and you watch the stars move across the sky, you really can't perceive that they're actually moving. You have to hold something up and stand there for an hour to actually see that they actually moved. That's how fast Earth is rotating. And from my perspective, I feel that.
Like, I definitely understand the idea behind it, right? The whole idea of, well, we're just moving so slow, or we're just so used to it, right, that we wouldn't expect to see it. But there is a bunch of fallacies with that. For one, even though the Earth is moving slow, we are dealing with something that is very massive, which means it has momentum, right? So when anything this massive or something as massive as the Earth, we would say, is going to move in any amount, unless you invoke some sort of magical vacuum-like reference frame, you should expect to see a whole bunch of momentum with that. It's not only that, but to say that the speed is constant is actually a fallacy as well. It's wrong on its face. Actually, not so much a fallacy, just as so much as is wrong, right? The Earth's speed is admittedly changing constantly as we move in orbit around the sun. And not only that, but our rotation is changing constantly, although be it gradually as well. So we're dealing with constant fluctuations of velocity, and we're not feeling any of it.
Well, in talking about the orbit, I mean, that it takes 365 days to do an orbit. So, I mean, that's even less of an effect than the Earth's rotation, which is once per day. So if you calculate it out, it's like 0.03 meters per second squared that the acceleration is produced. That it's below human perception to perceive that centrifugal force that the Earth produces when rotating.
So if I gave it to you that and said that, okay, well, because of these ideas, right, of how slow we're moving, I could just give it to you that we wouldn't expect to feel the motion, right? It would still go back to the point of how would we prove that it is in fact the Earth moving and not the sky?
That comes down to, for me, it comes down to a logical deduction. Like, and I know it's not necessarily analogous, but if I'm looking out my window and I see things passing by me, right? Everything's passing by me. It's just a logical deduction that I'm actually the one moving rather than the Earth moving past me, and looking up at the sky at the entire universe and see the entire universe moving in unison across the sky. It's a logical deduction for me that I'm probably the one moving rather than the entire universe.
So it's just an assumption then.
Yes, yeah. I mean, at this point, yes. I mean, there's lots of other stuff that goes with this conversation, but we can just kind of work through it.
Well, I'm glad you did. At least you didn't. At least you didn't bring up Foucault's pendulum, right?
Yeah, that's one thing.
Is it?
I got a Amber Alert on my phone. It cut me off for a second. But yeah, the Foucault's pendulum. There's ring laser gyros, mechanical gyros, gyro compasses. There's lots of other things we could talk about that either detects or depends on the Earth's rotation to work.
So when you say depends on rotation, right? That would imply that there's absolutely no other way that you could conceptualize it working.
Well, like with the gyro compass, it's got a big gyroscope in it, and with Earth's gravity and the fact that the Earth's rotating causes the compass to align with the axis of rotation, which would be the axis of the Earth, and causes the compass to point due north. It's a like a geometric north pole seeker. It seeks due north due to Earth's rotation.
All right. So you brought up. I'll tackle one thing at a time, right? You brought up the gyroscope and Foucault's pendulum, right? So the guy who invented the interferometry, right, the Sagnac effect, claims that this is due to a rotation of an ether. That is the claim of the guy who invented this. So why would we assume that it's the Earth rotating when, again, like, I get the idea. Well, we just see everything else moving, right? But we admit that that's an assumption. If it's true that the sky is in fact the thing rotating, right, which is what we see, and we don't measure ourselves moving, typically what you would do is you would, in the scenario of like a boat in the water, when you are trying to remember exactly how the analogy goes, but basically you stick your hand in the water to see if you're the one moving or if it's the boat that's moving. Well, we don't really have a way to do that according to relativity, which again came out only as a response to the Michelson-Morley, which is interferometry, that is the, basically the Sagnac effect. They're dealing with lights, trying to shoot them in different directions and measuring the velocity, and they're finding that there's no change, right? So we have a choice. We could either assume that the Earth is not moving, or we could invent entirely new physics to explain known phenomena like light and magnetism. What do you think would make the most sense?
Well, from what I understand about Michelson-Morley, that they understood that the Earth was rotating and exploited that fact to attempt to detect an ether drag, like, on one side of the orbit around the sun, you should detect some drag in one direction, and you get on the other side of the sun, you should, detect a lack of drag, so to speak, in that direction. And they didn't detect anything. The number they got, I think, was like 8. I don't know what units that was, but from what I understand, it was well below the margin of error for the equipment they were using. So you could either draw the conclusion that maybe Earth isn't rotating and there is an ether. We just can't detect it because we're not moving, or Earth is rotating and there's no ether. And of course, they drew the conclusion that there's no ether, and that's kind of what changed the paradigm of thinking that light needs a medium to propagate through.
Well, I'm glad you admitted that there was a choice, right? But to say that, well, they just drew the other conclusion, right? It's like that's kind of disingenuous, right? Basically, you're just saying that they made the choice, right? There was a choice to be made, and they made it, and they even admitted in their notes that all the results definitely seemed that the Earth is at rest, right? So the only reason, in my mind, that they would keep that the Earth is not at rest is because they don't want to accept, just like Hubble said, they don't want to accept the special place or special position of the Earth in the universe, and they would only accept that as a last case scenario to explain a phenomena. So, with that in mind, they will always choose what will leave us in the non special position.
Well, you mentioned they said that in their notes they indicated that Earth was stationary. I
they-
didn't see that in the actual experiment.
So what it said
The write-up of the
specifically,
experiment.
just make sure you didn't understand it or not saying that I said the wrong thing, right? I didn't say that they said the Earth was at rest. What I said was that they said the results seemed to appear. Sorry, I'm messing up the wording. Basically, what they said was that the results made it seem that the Earth was at rest. Now, they did full-heartedly believe that the Earth was rotating around the sun, right? I'm not saying that they didn't believe that at all, and they don't. They don't have to believe that it was stationary to get a result that would be a stationary result, right? So,
Right.
so they admit that there was only one other They actually said there was only one other conclusion, and that was the Earth was at rest. So, again, we have the Einstein general and special relativity being used to explain why we're not seeing a friendship in the light as we move, and that's because there's no ether, because light is going to keep the same velocity regardless of the direction, right? So if that is the case, then why is it that we are then using the same phenomena to try to measure the rotation, the sidereal rotation? And if we actually look at Einstein's notes with relativity, he said, if we admit the Michelson null result as a fact, a null meaning zero result, if they detected any change in the friendship in the light, then what would end up happening was it would debunk the theory because there was a change in the velocity when the light is not supposed to change velocity. So the fact that we are seeing a change in velocity with the Sagnac effect with the ring laser gyroscope directly debunks general relativity.
That's a little bit to unpack there. So you're saying that Michelson-Morley debunked general relativity? Is that what you're saying?
General relativity wasn't even a thing when Michelson and Morley did the
Right.
experiment, right?
Right.
That was an ad hoc theory to explain why they weren't getting the result that they were expecting to get, why they were getting a null result, as Einstein put it. The thing is that when they repeated the experiment, they didn't get a null result. They actually did see a friendship, albeit much smaller than what you would expect for the rotation of the Earth to be around the sun. They saw a much smaller friendship, but a friendship nonetheless, which means that Einstein was wrong. The null result is not a fact, and general relativity no longer has a leg to stand on.
Oh, I would say that if indeed there was an ether, yeah, I don't know how that would affect general relativity. Yeah, it would be. There would be a lot of things different. I could probably say that, but yeah, I'm not scientifically educated enough to make a claim on that one way or the other. But I could say that if ether is a thing, and that we've just not been able to detect it, that I don't know how that would affect general relativity. But
Well, it would be a death blow, right? If ether was a thing and we were able to detect it, and we're not detecting the Earth's motion through space, then that would mean that we're not moving, and that would be a death blow to your model.
So again, so everything kind of points towards the motion, and so then that would lead us to say, well, what things could we do to detect the motion? Of course, there's a ring laser gyro,
But the
which
thing
Bob,
is,
everybody says thanks, Bob, and he did detect that 15 degree per hour
I have to hold you up for just a
rotation.
second, because the
Okay.
thing is that when you say, well, everything else points to the fact that we're moving, right? But that's not true, right? The fact is that the sky is moving, and that different things in the sky move at different rates. The moon moves at a different rate than the sun moves at a different rate than the stars move at a different rate, and apparently this rate is changing through time. So why would we expect for it to be us? Why are we the thing rotating? Why would we expect that when everything in the sky is moving at different rates?
Well, the moon's orbiting the Earth at 28 days. The Earth's orbiting the sun every 365 days. The sun's actually, I think it changes. I heard Geo talking about it today in relation to the background stars or the background luminaries, whatever you want to call them, that it changes like 1 degree per year. And I may get that wrong. I don't want to misrepresent. I just think that's what I understood it to be.
It's 1 degree every 70 years.
Is that it?
Yeah.
72.
It says
72.
72 years. I've heard that.
But not just that, right? We have to actually take all this into account. So we have the precession of the equinox, which is the North Pole moving 1 degree, or not the North Pole, sorry, the North Star moving 1 degree every 70 years. But then we also have the Chandler's wobble, which is an additional wobble that happens the same exact axis every 433 days. And then we also have a nutation caused from the moon's orbit around the Earth as well. So that's a third wobble. And then we also have a fourth wobble. This was discovered recently in 2021. Basically, because we removed so much groundwater, it is claimed that from the years of 1993 to 2010, we shifted 31.5 degrees. My friends, where in the sky have you seen the constellations shift 31.5 degrees?
Wait. I had never heard that. That's a new one on me.
Well, in any case, your burden is now to explain 4 different wobbles, some of which are happening on the exact same axis at the exact same time. How can you have 2 separate rates of precession essentially happening at the same time?
Well, I mean, the moon orbiting the Earth causes. I mean, anytime you have a small body orbiting a larger body, the large body is reacting to that orbit, and you've heard of barycenter, like.
So
that's like where the large body is actually wobbling or sort of orbiting a point in the center of that large body.
right, but again, the Chandler's wobble and the precession is on the same axis. How do you have, again, and maybe you could demonstrate this, how do you have 2 different rates of precession, 2 different wobbles happening at the same exact time, at the same place? How does that work?
I can't answer that.
I would answer that it doesn't, and that it's a paradox that's unexplainable, and that we have no burden in the flat Earth model to explain why things in the sky are moving at different rates, because we expect that. It's not all due to our rotation.
I mean, hey, how can you just hand wave it off and say I expect that without having an explanation for it?
Well, this is
If you expect it, you've got a reason to expect it, right?
Well, with the precession, right? So absolutely, this is actually really basic, right? So imagine yourself on a ball. I know that Globies like to do this a lot. Imagine yourself as an ant on a basketball, right? If that basketball were to turn or shift in any way, would there be any point on that basketball besides maybe the rotation point, the axis point, that would be the same? Or would it all shift?
I mean, the whole thing with
Absolutely. It would all
any
shift.
wobble or change or it would be the whole thing.
Absolutely. So if the globe model claims that we are wobbling, and we'll just do two, we'll make it really easy. If the globe model requires the sky wobbling at two different rates at the same time to explain their phenomena, and this is in fact impossible, right? It's literally a paradox on its face. It cannot happen. You cannot
Why is
wobble.
that? Why is that? Well, why can't two things happen at once?
Okay, so let me be very, very specific with it so you don't misunderstand.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so if you have a precession, right, that's 26,000 years, you cannot have a simultaneous vector going the same exact direction, moving at a much faster rate, 433 days as opposed to years. You cannot have two different rates of precession at the same time.
Why not? Why not?
Go
Because
ahead.
you say so?
Oh, sure. Just go ahead and demonstrate it then. It's just
It is
factually
demonstrated. It's been
impossible.
measured.
No, it's
been
factually
measured.
impossible.
Actually, it's not. It's been measured, but that's okay.
Oh,
You just say it's impossible. You just say no. I mean, can you have anything other than no?
So you think that something can spin at two different rates at the same time? Because that's what
No,
you're saying.
I think these precessions that you're talking about, like because one being like the Earth is reacting to the moon's orbit, that can be happening, and also the Earth is precessing around at the 25,000 year cycle, like you're talking about the wobble of the axis that could be happening. I don't see why that would be a problem.
Okay, so you guys are failing to understand. Like, I understand that a ball can wobble different directions and can wobble it from different axes at the same time, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying the Chandler's wobble and the precession of the equinox is a simultaneous wobble on the same axis in the same direction, but at different time scales. How is this possible? Go.
So hold on a second.
Sounds troubling.
If I'm
Sounds
on an
troubling.
airplane, if I'm
Go ahead, Mr. NASA.
if I'm on an airplane and the airplane is going forward and I'm walking from the tail to the front, how come? So you're saying I can't do that because we're traveling in the same direction? We have two different rates, but we can't measure either one, or we can't measure the total. What's the problem?
Okay, so here's the problem. If I spun a basketball around in a circle,
Well, I'm troubling Tribune.
so if I spun a
I
basketball,
stop you there because go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say
I happen to know what the real issue is here, but I'll let you guys go.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so just to make it super quick to understand my exact issue, right? If I spun a basketball on my finger, right, and we measured the speed of that basketball, you can't say that the basketball is spinning at 30 rotations per minute and also spinning at 60 rotations per minute. It's one or the other.
True that. Okay, so if you had a basketball and it had those lines on it, and at the top part where you fill it up with the air, that was where the pole is, and that pole is pointed towards the center of the ceiling. The precession of the equinox would relate to how that point is aimed at the center of the ceiling, which it can wobble back and forth. The Chandler wobble pertains to how that axis is fixed on the ball of the basketball. So where the air comes in at is no longer the pole, and that is actually moving around on the surface. So there's two different wobbles, two different things that are wobbling.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. I just want to make sure that I understood you correctly. Are you saying that the Chandler's wobble is the wobble of the actual pole? Not
Right, yeah. And with respect to the surface of the Earth.
Interesting. Every depiction that I've seen of the Chandler's Wobble shows it in space. So I'm not sure how you're getting that, because the movement of the North Pole is something completely different. Like, that's not the Chandler's Wobble. That's its own thing.
Yeah, it's a magnetic North Pole. That's right.
Right. That's its own complete phenomena, which the name of it's escaping me right now, but it's not the Chandler's Wobble.
Right. It's another wobble. It's even another wobble.
Well, the reason why we know it's not that is because the Chandler's Wobble is something that happens every 433 days. The shifting of the magnetic north is something that's happening continuously all the time. So the Chandler's Wobble is something that makes a complete circuit. We're not expecting the North Pole to make a complete circuit in 433 days. Absolutely not. That's definitely not the case. So
Wow.
where are you getting this information that the Chandler's Wobble has to do with the movement of the magnetic pole?
Nope, has nothing to do with the magnetic pole. Magnetic pole is a different pole. The pole, as it relates to the stars, is another precession called the precession equinox. This wobble, I'll just read what it says on Wikipedia. It says the Chandler wobble, or Chandler variation of latitude, is a small deviation in the Earth's axis of rotation relative to the solid Earth. So it's the Earth is the axis of rotation and how it relates to the surface of the Earth, which is different than the axis of rotation and how it relates to the fixed stars.
Okay, so here's the issue. So you can say that, well, it just has to do with the Earth's surface. It's how the Earth's surface is wobbling. If the Earth's surface is wobbling, right, which I would argue that if it is true, the globe model, and we're talking about the precession of the equinox, that's also a wobble of the Earth's surface, right? We're not talking about the wobble of the stars. We're talking about the wobble of the Earth's surface. So in my opinion, you're just splitting hairs to make this more confusing, and it doesn't need to be. If the Earth's surface, if the Earth's surface wobbles, then we would see that wobble present in the stars. And there's no place on Earth besides the actual axis that the wobble happens that we would actually.
How big is the Chandler Wobble?
It's very small.
That's what I was going to say. 30 feet over a period of 433 years. I think it'd be unperceivable to the human.
No, but let's go back to the basketball, okay? At Madison Square Garden.
No one's
the basketball's rotating with the part where you plug in the air is pointed straight up towards the lights at the center, okay? So every 26,000 years, the pole, there's an imaginary pole, by the way, that's going through the rotation and happens to be where the air is coming out at. That's pointed, takes 26,000 years to make a full cycle. That's the precession. However, on the basketball, that same pole that's imaginary, not fixed on that air part, it's moving at this 30 feet. Let's just scale it up, 30 feet per whatever long. The actual pole and the actual surface are not fixed to one another. That's different than the pole and what it's pointed towards. These are two totally different things. It's not splitting hairs. These are two entirely different things. One's the pole and its reference to the stars. One's the pole and its reference to the surface of the Earth that it's rotating with.
What pole?
The pole that's rotating around.
What pole is that?
Well, rotation is rotating around a pole, so it's a pole of rotation.
It's the North Pole, right?
And the South.
Which pole, though? Not the magnetic one, but the geographic?
Not the magnetic pole, the geographic pole, which is North and South. It's like the line that goes through the Earth.
Right. Geographic north is changing, essentially, according to the Chandler Wobble, by 30 feet every 433 days, correct?
North and South, though, as I said. It's not just
I'm just going to look at the north for the moment.
This pole is different than the magnetic pole, which is you can think of in like single poles.
Here's the thing. When you're actually looking at a depiction of the Chandler's Wobble and you're looking at a depiction of the precession of the equinox, right? It actually literally does what you just said. Puts a pole through the middle of it, right? And then it shows a circle where that pole is, that to show that wobble, right? Here's the question that I asked earlier that still has not been addressed, right? You simply saying, well, one's the stars and one's the Earth's surface does not track for literally anybody, I don't think.
Actually, it does. It tracks perfectly well.
How does the
And you seem
surface
to
move
be-
without your relation to the stars moving? And how
That's
would
a
you
good
measure
question.
that without measuring your relation to the stars? It's nonsensical.
That's a very good question. Maybe you should read up on it because the
I
answer is
have.
quite clear. You have? And then what's your problem?
That's why I'm asking you guys,
Well,
because you guys are
because
just being
you're
disingenuous.
we're being disingenuous.
Seems like it.
If you've read this and don't have a clue, no, I won't go there. You seriously have read this and
Please educate me. How does the
um,
surface? How do you measure the change? How do you measure the Chandler's wobble?
I don't know. You're Mr. Chandler. Why don't you tell me?
Your
He
position to
discovered
the
it in
star. Your
1891.
position to the stars. All of these wobbles are done by taking measurements to the stars. Right. That's how they're all done. So you simply saying that, well, one's in relation to the stars and one's not, is absolutely ridiculous. They're all in relation to the stars. Thanks for playing.
Okay, so 30 feet in 433 days. It's so
Yeah, it's a different rate than the other one. Exactly. How do you have them
just slightly.
at the
See,
same
that one
time?
is where again, like Coach was trying to say, that's where it's pointing. Over 433 days, we notice that point varies by 30 feet.
But the whole point is actually going to vary completely different by 26,000 in 26,000 years. The precession of the
Yeah,
equinox.
okay.
That's that
That
point. Hold on.
is that more?
That point.
Is that more?
You guys
Is
aren't
that
getting
more
it.
or less? Is that more or less than 30 days?
It's a lot more. It's a lot more
Yeah,
movement, and it's a lot
but
further. You're making a circle. Here's the thing: you're making a circle in 433 days, but you're also
uh-huh.
claiming that you're making a circle in 26,000 years. How do you have them at the same time?
Oh, I see. Now, again, if I'm on an airplane and I'm flying in an airplane and I'm walking forward from the back to the front, are those two separate motions or are they the same motion?
I'm sorry, I was reading the chat. Go ahead.
I'm on an airplane. I'm flying at 600 miles an hour and I'm walking from the back to the front. Are those two motions or are they the same motion?
I mean, depends on which way you're walking, I suppose.
I'm walking from the back to the front.
Actually, technically, it would be a net vector, so it would only be one direction ultimately.
Exactly. Thank you. But they're two separate motions. I can analyze them separately, can I? I can analyze the speed over the earth with the airplane. I can analyze the fact that I'm walking from the bathrooms in the back to my seat, which is forward.
Sure. So, what does the different thing that we're doing to measure the difference in the Chandler wobble and the precession of the equinox? Because I'm sure you understand that my problem is that you're saying that there's two different equinoxes of different sizes and
No,
different speeds.
no, not at all. This is a 30 feet deviation over a course of
No,
over
not
a
at all.
year.
It's a 30 feet. Yeah, that's a deviation. Correct. It's a
Yeah, so
different
30 feet.
it's a different size than the precession of the equinox, right? It's a smaller loop.
Just slightly. Yeah, slightly smaller loop. Actually, it's not. But they don't actually not sure what causes the Chandler's wobble. It appears that the crust is slipping relative to the solid. It appears that the Earth is not completely solid all the way up. Yeah, the other explanation has something to do with the tides. We're not quite sure. That's interesting. I mean, he discovered in 1891. We needed to get some precision instruments to measure 30 feet over a course of over a year.
Yeah, but then we also have the 31.5 feet one that I mentioned earlier as well. So you guys have 4 different wobbles. You
So,
really haven't
okay.
explained why you can have the 2 circles on top of each other at 2 different speeds.
Why not? Again, I'm using my walking forward in the airplane thing, and we can measure these separately and
It doesn't.
add them
It's
up.
not congruent. I don't see how it's
Actually, it
congruent.
is. It's totally congruent.
Explain.
It's the same motion in the same direction. You seem to have a
So
problem with.
just trying to progress and think about this. I mean, I'm listening and thinking, and this Chandler wobble is something new to me. And I've kind of, since Kosho described it, I've kind of got a picture of what's happening. And could it have something to do with the the liquid outer core of the Earth? And
Well, we're begging the question,
that would.
fallacies.
No, it's not begging the question. It's actually one of the explanations for it.
Okay, well, I mean that makes sense to me. I mean, I'm not worried about begging any questions. I'm just kind of contemplating on what how this could happen on Earth. That's one thing I thought of, that liquid core and the uneven distribution of the Earth's crust being greater in some parts than others. That this might be something that I would expect to happen on a rotating body.
Yeah, I'm reading this comment here, and they're trying to make it make sense to me. I do appreciate that. But I'm definitely not getting it right, because you got the wobble, and then you have the precession, but the precession is a big wobble, right? So I just don't. I'm really not wrapping my head around how you have them superimposed on top of each other. Maybe if somebody has some sort of demonstration, um, like with because precession is something that we see when you spin a weight and then you apply a counterbalance and you see that weight start to spin. So, I mean, can somebody do something with that and then make that precess at two different rates? Or I should say, I guess, wobble and precess on the same axis.
So you don't think that a 26.5 degree turn over 20 what over was it 26,000 years and a 9 foot change that happens every 433 days can occur at the same time?
No, I don't get it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, nobody's able to demonstrate it or explain it either, it seems. So,
We've measured it. Mr. Chandler measured it. How do you think he came up with this?
no, he measured a displacement from our position relative to the sky and then said that we were wobbling. How do you know the sky just didn't change positions?
How did it do that?
I don't know. I'm not God.
Oh, you got.
How
You just
did the
gotta
Earth
say,
wobble? You don't know.
we observed.
You don't know
We
it
observed
wobbled.
it.
No, you observed the sky change. Jesus.
Oh, so the
Hey,
sky.
don't call me that.
The sky can suddenly change. Got it. But
Well, the Earth can suddenly wobble. I mean, we can have it either
no.
way, right?
Oh, the
Oh, we see these changes in relation to the heavenly bodies or the lights in the sky or whatever. And I think the globe model has explanations for that. But how can you explain these things we see on a flat Earth?
Well, that's a
Hey,
burden.
Trublin. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, no, sorry, I didn't mean to.
I was gonna say that's a burden shift, right? I don't have to explain the things that I'm not claiming to know. You guys are the ones who claim to have it all figured out when you don't even know
you
the
just
causes of the
you just can't. What do you mean? We don't
displacement.
need to know the cause in order to see something occur. Is
So
this?
here's the
I
difference,
mean,
right? I say the sky is moving. You say the Earth is moving.
this is the anti-gravity argument. Unless you have every nit nailed down about what causes gravity, you can't notice that things fall at 9.81 meters per second per second.
False
That's ridiculous.
equivalency.
No, it's
You
exactly
guys
same
literally try to
equivalency.
no. The reason why it's different is because you guys try to say that 9.87 whatever the heck meters is
8.1 meters per second
equivalent and proof of the bending and warping of space time and proof of Einsteinian
we're not
theory.
talking about Einstein right now.
Oh, but I wonder, how can it be detrimental to the globe model that we take a stab at providing a logical explanation for something that we observe, but flat Earth always takes a position. I don't have to. I'm not claiming anything. It blah blah blah.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
the
it's kind
thing.
of like copping out on the conversation.
Well, it would be one thing if that's what the globe people actually did, the globe scientists. But what they did was they got measurements and results that showed the Earth was stationary and non-rotating, and non-curving. And then they begged the question
What?
with
Who got that?
bouncing. Hold on, I'm in the middle of a sentence. Jeez. And then they begged the question with bouncing, bending light, bouncing radio waves and microwaves, tropospheric scattering. And then they also superimpose that the Earth is what is actually moving when the heavenly bodies are what can be shown to be moving at different rates that they want to superimpose to the one single cause of the Earth rotating, which can be provably false when you have multiple different precessions on top of each other.
And a partridge in a pear tree, the
Not,
kitchen
yeah,
sink, and two
yeah,
cents. Come on, you just
yeah.
threw.
That's a
That was the biggest word
poor
salad I've heard
conclusion.
since Whitsit would left.
Nice. I
There's
appreciate
nothing
it.
wrong.
Thanks for the
Nothing wrong with
compliment.
salad.
Thanks for the compliment.
Wrong salad.
Go. I want to hear from the. I want to hear from Kosho.
Well, I was gonna say I made something for the Tribune because and I realized that my picture is actually probably not that great, but if you focus on the quarter and where the arrow's going through, in the first picture, it's going through the E in Liberty.
Sorry, where are you
So
showing
that's.
this?
I posted it in live stream text 1.
Give me 1 second. Let me get over there to it.
This is meant to clear it up, but I don't imagine because I didn't do that great of a job. But Tell me if you can see it.
Yeah, I got you. I got the quarters with the arrows.
Yeah. In the first quarter, in the first picture, the quarter is straight up. The arrow's pointed to the sky, and the arrow is going through the E in Liberty. Okay. And in the second picture, I really messed up the way I made it. It's going to hopefully not be confused, but it's not going through the E in Liberty anymore, and it's not even pointing straight up. So in this picture, you have two different wobbles, we'll call it. Okay. We have the precession of the equinox, which is the direction the arrow's pointed, and then we have the channel wobble, which is the part of the quarter the arrow's going through. And in the third picture, the third quarter, you still have a precession of the equinox. That's the arrow pointed in a different direction, but the arrow is still coming out of the E in Liberty. So it's actually there in this picture. There is no Chandler wobble. So you see that the Chandler wobble is talking about where the arrow is coming out of the quarter. That's like, and the arrow, by the way, is representing a rotation. So the quarter is rotating around the arrow. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
All right, so the quarter's rotating around the arrow, and it's making a little loop. I'm not seeing how it can make another. This isn't demonstrating how it can make two loops superimposed. I'm not really getting it.
Well, the two movements. One of the movements is the movement that the arrow's doing. The arrow's points to different directions. That's one of the movements. And the other movement is where the arrow is in reference to the quarter. So the arrow could be not pointed in different directions, and still the quarter is moving. That would be a sort of Chandler wobble. And the other wobble would be the quarter and the arrow are moving together, but they're pointed in different directions.
All right, well, maybe you can help me with this one then, because the other two didn't really seem like they were able to help too much with this question, and that is the Chandler's wobble and the precession of the equinox are obviously measured from our changing of our position in relation to the stars, right?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, the Chandler wobble is a little bit more complex than that, but yeah, they're both in reference to the stars.
Okay. So with that being the case, how do we know that it's us wobbling or the sky changing position?
I think they would compare the rotation with what the celestial sphere is doing, like the almanac, the sailor's almanac, or the nautical almanac. This is kind of doing one rotation in the sky, and so if we're adjusting compared to that entire celestial sphere, different than expected, I think that's what they measure with the Chandler wobble. Although, hold on, now that I say that, I do remember last time I was asked this question, I think it had more to do with actually the what's it called? Grace satellites. There's these gravity satellites that they had go around the whole Earth. You might not believe that, but they were measuring the local gravity, and it was this that was used to pick up the Chandler wobble, I believe.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing in the satellites, especially since I've found articles that were basically detailing how it's almost inadmissible in court because it's of custody issues, and basically you can't determine where the data from satellites originally came from.
No, this data, the Grace satellites, they claim it comes from University of Texas. But let me, and I know that because Peyton Schill said it came from 100 years ago. I do remember that is the case, but I think that the accurate.
You cut out pretty bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're losing you, Kocho.
I got a really bad microphone. I'm gonna have to replace it.
There you go. You're back.
We're losing you, Kocho. There you go. You're back.
Oh, yeah. I guess he does have to replace his microphone.
I think he's using Jeremy's phone.
Lord Racer got me. You got me, Lord. Haven't heard that one before. Super funny. Huge shout out to all you legends over in the YouTube and Rockfin, kicking it, making the show something cool.
What's your channel, buddy?
Troubling Tribune over on Rockfin and YouTube and on TikTok. Go check it out.
Oh, I've heard of you.
Yes, sir.
You're a flat earther. I'm sorry I was late to the party.
Yep. Yes, sir. Station.
Yeah, I think I have heard of you. Yeah.
Awesome, man. My reputation precedes me.
Well, your name sounded familiar. Sometimes, like, I don't know if I come across somebody or who it is, but yeah, I do remember Troubling to. I forgot who brought you up, but yeah, big on the social.
Yeah, this is the channel.
Yeah.
This is the channel that. No, we did that on the political Discord. We did a Fight the Globe. It was pretty fun. Where we just do like a big Discord smackdown. Me, Shane, Alan, and a few other people.
That's what's up. I apologize to your audience. My demonstrations were probably subpar, but
yeah, they didn't. They didn't buy it for a second.
I figured. Honestly, when I knew when I was making the pictures, like it's almost like I could have made it less confusing, and I didn't go with that option.
I'm just gonna keep ignoring and hand waving until someone shows me something.
What kind of something are you looking for?
Well, for starters, like
There's Jesse Penland.
That's super funny. For starters, I mean, I mean, we're just going in circles. I really shouldn't beat it down anymore. I was stuck on the Chandler's Wobble and the procession, but I think we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on that one for now. Maybe if I look at another representation or something or another Google give me, I'll be able to figure it out. But I'm just not getting how there can be two separate processions on the same axis at different times, like different speeds at different rates. The way I see it is that you spin a basketball on your finger, it's only going one rate. You can't say that it's going two different rates when it's only spinning one rate.
You see the diagram that Tim posted at 29 minutes past the hour?
The quarters, yeah.
Yeah. You don't understand that? The fact that it can, as it's spinning, that the precession, that big arc, it's also making another smaller precession around the orbit.
Is that
talking about the pendulum?
Is that what the quarters showed?
At 29 past the hour. I was trying to find something like that was in video, since you guys like videos.
Yeah, I need a video. You're gonna have to dumb it down for me.
Of course. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's a great point, Boo Ranch. Everybody's telling me that I need to sell my own brand of tea to help with the patience that it comes to do these types of discourses. But I actually enjoy it. I mean, even with people who disagree, I actually think that it's actually not enjoyable at all if I just have an echo chamber. So thank you guys for engaging.
Likewise.
It was pretty silent when I came in here, so I'd like to believe that I brought some life for a little bit. Huge shout
Take
out.
a look at that little link I put in the chat, the YouTube link. It's 2 seconds.
Let's do it. In the YouTube chat, you said?
No, in the Discord chat. But
I was about to say, how the hell did you do that? All right, let me get back to it. I done clicked out of it. All right.
But it kind of shows precision and notation working together.
Yeah,
So you realize that the reason why they said why they had to say there was a nutation is because the moon wasn't wobbling with the Earth. So they had to. Well, this is what it would look like if we mathed it out. You can't just have the whole Earth wobble and not have the other celestial bodies wobble as well. So, yeah, that's why I think we're probably going to get a lot more wobbles here pretty soon. Yeah, this is and again, this is the nutation. I wasn't actually even really too worried about that. The two big ones that hit me are going to be the Chandler's Wobble and the precession of the equinox. So the nutation is something different. I mean, the nutation makes sense. I mean, if I was just being blatantly honest and just saying that if I just accept the model as true at its face, then yes, it would be possible to have like a little, looks like a little divvy in and out on its circle, I guess, the nutation. But where would that it then incorporate the Chandler's wobble? How would that then be a thing? Anybody?
Yeah, I'm gonna try one more time with this picture. Give me a minute.
I'm gonna click. I didn't click
Oh, I
the
never
link.
heard
Whoops.
of this Chandler wobble.
Whoops. I didn't click
Yeah,
the link.
New,
Give me 1 second.
new
I'm
to
gonna
me
watch
too,
this.
mate.
Oh, I just found it. I was reading on
It's
Wikipedia.
all
It says it's a change that amounts to about 9 meters.
yeah. This
Yes.
20, 30 feet. This is your typical flat Earth. We have found a small imperfection, and therefore the fact that we have this small 30 feet per 14 months rotation that disproves everything about what we know about the Earth.
Everything. Pack it up.
I think he said the sky should wobble too, but I mean if it's 9 meters, you divide 6 and 9 miles by 9 meters. That's a fraction of a degree that you're gonna see changing. So I don't think you're seeing that. Sounds too minuscule to be noticeable.
That's
Too
what I
minuscule to
thought.
be noticeable by anyone except astronomers who are trying to nail stuff down. And oh, wait a minute. Oh, GPS. We have to account for it in GPS too.
So, again, unless I'm just, and you probably would, this guy's just stupid. So we got the precession, right? We got this little wobble in the circle, right? Which would be a nutation. And I think I've seen a top do that before, right? Maybe that makes a little bit of sense. So add the third and fourth wobble in now.
Wait, what were the wobbles? The Chandler one, the precessional, the equinox, and the axis one? Are those the three ones you're talking about?
Yeah, you got Chandler's wobble, you got the moon nutation, and then you also have they don't even have a name for this other one. It was 31 and a half over 30 sorry, 31 and a half degrees of change over from 1993 to 2010.
Degrees
Show
and
me that reference.
Let me go ahead and send it to you.
Okay, so what about those wobbles?
For example, like if you add in the Chandler wobble to this diagram thing here, it's only 20 feet in its entire quote unquote orbit. So you could look at it like it's just a vibration added to precession and nutation. So if you just like zigzag the entire line in the precession and nutation line, you got it. Just a little zigzag, just a little vibration.
I love hearing you guys do these backflips for this Earth, man. When I'm trying to
It's
picture
no backflip here. It's
just
just how it would be explained.
So I did
This
post
is a
I did post the link for the article with the 31 and a half inch shift.
Well, 31 and a half inches.
Inches, yes, not degrees. My bad.
Oh, that
That's
sounds like a
slightly less than
slight
31 and a half
difference.
degrees.
I mean, that's quite a bit.
It's less than 9 meters,
Especially
which is
when you're-
rather-
especially
no,
when you're
actually,
considering-
it's hardly anything when the Earth in the size of the Earth.
That's super funny. It's hardly anything when you compare it to the whole Earth. It's like, no, if you held the ruler out, right, and you measured 31 inches of change in the sky, that would be tremendously noticeable.
No, it's not 31 inches in the sky. It's 31 inches that the pole has moved. That's like
How
going
is it
and
determined?
saying that I'm
How
seeing
is
at
it
the North
determined?
Pole. Oh, I am less
How
than
did you
a
determine?
meter off.
How did you determine that the pole moved 31 and a half inches, my friend?
Well,
you measured
he's
it.
not the one
Well,
who
you tell me,
determined
you're
it.
supposed
Your
to be
reference
article.
did.
You measured a change to the stars, so that would mean that the stars would have had to have changed 31 and a half inches, and then you believe that
No,
that
not
was why it
inches.
changed.
The
That
Earth
makes
rotated relative to the
it
stars.
makes no sense to say that the stars move by inches. You can say that they move by an amount of degrees, and that gets translated into inches when you apply to the Earth size. But it doesn't make sense to apply that directly to the stars.
No, they did it for us, right? So they said that we shifted 31 and a half inches, right? So
Can you
the
draw
way
a
Yeah,
you
paper on
determine
that or
that,
something like
look,
that?
it's simple logic.
Which is
It's
probably
very, very
which is-
simple logic, right? So if I shifted, or anything around me shifted 31 and a half inches, then it's
Wait, wait a
literally
minute. You
circular.
think
It's in a circle, right? So that's how dumb this is, right? If something
Hold
shifts
on.
31 and a
you
half
think that
inches, then that's what it does,
you,
right? So the Earth obviously didn't shift. You measured a shift in the stars, right? That's how this is measured.
Well, kind
But
of.
that
Go
makes no
ahead,
sense in
Jason.
inches.
Yeah,
you
well,
think
well,
that
one of them does. One does exist. One does make sense in inches, but not the one he said. Not the one with the stars, because I made more pictures again, but I think there's another way to describe it.
Well, put it in
Let's say
inches.
describe the observation.
Put it in inches.
Let's say
on
your
the-
observer.
How many inches did the sky move for us to determine that the Earth moved 31 and a half inches?
do you
You
think that
divide
looking at a star, I will say that the North Star, that it's moved 31 and a half inches relative to my position?
Yeah, but it's different than that even because there's two. Wait, it doesn't make sense. But there's two descriptions. One is so if you're making star trails, let's say you're making a star trails video and you're using time lapses. Okay, there's going to be one observation that you make with the center of the sky, the part that the stars are rotating around. So the part in the sky where the stars are rotating around. That's going to represent the change in that is going to represent the precession. The precession is going to be represented by where the center of the stars are in the star trails. Okay. The other change is going to be where on the ground is represented by the ground position of the center of that point. So the center of the star trails, regardless of where it's pointed to in the sky, is going to have a ground position, a GP on the ground. And that position, as that moves, that's the Chandler wobble. So these are just two descriptions.
So how much does that move, though? How much
So
does
confusing.
the GP of the star move if they're claiming that Earth tilts
It's
31 and a
simple.
half inches?
You get the 31.5 inches and you see what's the ratio between that and 69 miles. And that's the same ratio of a degree of change that you're going to have.
I'm sorry. Slow that down for me.
Okay, so you see how many 31.5 inches fit
Okay,
inside
there-
69 miles?
point-
And then you divide then 1 degree by that amount. That tells you how much it changes
Why would we do
in the
that?
sky.
Because, like,
Because
seriously,
that's the amount of deviation off of 1 degree.
31
31 inches is to 60 nautical miles. That's that precession that you're going to be measuring.
okay, so I get that part. You move 69 miles, you move 70 miles, and the stars
No.
shift 1 degree, right? I definitely understand that. So they're
No,
saying
the rate of curvature is going to be 31 inches off that center point.
no,
That's how much it moves
the rate of
around.
curvature was implied by the drop of stars. So
You're not going to go
literally.
69 miles. I don't know where you got that
So
from.
I'm calculating that as
The ratio of the
7.2.
curvature being 60 nautical miles per degree away from the center point. That'd be like a radius.
So I'm
The distance
calculating
from
that
the
as
axis.
I'm calculating that angle change is 7.2 times 10 to the minus 6. In other words, 6 zeros, then 7.2. That's how much angle change you'll see from the
Less than
31-inch move of the pole.
Yeah, less than a millionth of a degree.
Right.
Jesus, it's almost like nothing even happened. So here's
Yeah,
my
That's
thing,
what I said.
right?
Nothing very happened. Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's just like, why even claim it, right?
Because it can be measured.
Because the
So if
observer.
it's true, it's true. It doesn't matter if it's small.
So again, I'll take it back full circle, right? The way that you measured it is by measuring the displacement of the stars, right? So how do you know, right? How do you prove, how do you verify, isolate that it is the Earth tilting and wobbling and not the sky actually moving in those degrees, regardless of how slight or great they may be?
It
So I
would,
was
because it would
describing.
make no sense for all the stars to shift in unison the same amount. At least not in our understanding of the universe. That would
Well,
make no
there's a
sense.
Not
celestial,
possible.
there's a celestial shelf, right?
Wouldn't work.
That's what the navigators say.
Of course, if we're starting with no understanding on the shape of the Earth and what the sky is, then
Well, yeah,
we wouldn't be
let's
able
build
to reach
upon-
that conclusion. That conclusion is only reached
Until
within
you
the
realize-
understanding
But
that the Earth.
but that's
is,
okay. So here's my other
orbit
issue,
sun and-
right? Just so you guys understand why there's so many flat earthers, right? It's like when it gets down to it, when we're actually scrutinizing the globe Earth claims, right? it almost always goes back to, well, we know that this is because of all the other evidence, right? But then when we actually go to that evidence on a case by case basis, it doesn't hold up, and you actually have to rely on the all the other preponderance of evidence to then say it is a globe. But literally, every single individual piece that has been addressed has had major flaws with it.
No, that's not true.
Like what?
I mean, you guys literally had to adjust how many times? The distance to the sun, the distance to the stars,
Only
the
because they're more
actual,
accurate.
the
Only because they're more
actual.
accurate measurements.
Well, that's the thing. You could always just say that. Oh, we just got more accurate, right? I could just change the
You did.
story and say it's more accurate.
Well,
How do we know? Let's prove
we can't
it.
change we can't change to contradictory values.
Well, let's just start by proving it, right? Like, so start from first principles. You say that we know it's a globe. How do we know?
Right.
What's the first step?
Because every time you move from looking at celestial objects, you have a 69 mile for one degree of angle to that object in the sky. That can only happen if the surface is round, and you can't have a dome with little lights in there because that doesn't work either.
So you're assuming
can't
that we
add
see
more.
in. So how do you think that we see?
That actually doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter how you see.
What?
And just because you have a curved lens and an eyeball that's round doesn't mean that that means anything. The only thing a curved lens does is focus things in the back of your retina. It doesn't make anything.
That's super funny.
Curve in
So
your
you
vi-
don't.
in your
So you
vision.
don't think that things appear to curve at
No,
all,
of course not.
just based on perspective at all? It doesn't
No,
happen.
perspective just makes things go
We
get
don't
smaller with distance.
have to take that
proportionally.
So
route.
so
Zenik.
sorry. Go ahead.
I would say like if there's this relationship of how much stars drop with distance.
Oh, you're moving on ahead. No, we're not going
Doesn't
to.
really-
We're not going to move on ahead with the relationship. We haven't verified the cause of the relationship, right? You're
Well,
saying
it actually doesn't matter if
it
there
does.
is a
Hold on, it does.
relationship.
Don't interrupt just yet, right? I'll let you go. I just want to say
Well,
this real
I
quick.
thought I was.
All I'm saying is
it was
that
my
if
turn.
it
Go ahead.
drops, well, you're just asserting that because this drops, this is how we know that it's curved, right? But you don't know
Right.
that it's curved because, for one, we don't see in Euclidean geometry. We do see in hyperbolic space. It is
That's not
literally
true.
defined. It is true. The alley experiments
Let
did
him
prove
finish.
that. The alley experiments did prove that. It's not Witzit's point, right? This is not a flat Earth point that we see in hyperbolic space. All right. If anything, if you
Wrap it
guys
up.
were smart, you
Yeah,
would
you
say,
can
well,
measure
yeah,
it.
we do see
See
in
Guys, I'm
Glober
gonna start
in-
muting. Let him finish, please.
So anyway, long story short, how do you ascertain, what experiment can we do to verify that the drop of the stars is caused due to the curvature of the Earth and not due to an optical effect when we do
Let me
see
respond
things
to
in the distance drop?
Right. So if you know the relationship, it doesn't matter the cause because you already can gain information from the relationship. If you know that stars drop by 1 degree per 69 miles, you can tell distance between points if you can measure the drop between a celestial body that you're observing from one of those points and that same celestial body being overhead the other point. So you can get distance measurements if that relationship exists regardless on what's the nature of this relationship. The point is not that the relationship tells its nature, but regardless on the nature, the relationship itself give you enough information to tell what the shape of the Earth is, which is the distance between points. Did you get that?
I did get it,
yeah.
but I disagree.
You shouldn't disagree because we also do things on
Mathematically
the
wrong.
star. We also do things
Zanik?
looking not at the star.
Zanik?
Yes.
Zanik, let him
Yes.
respond.
That's good
Yeah,
moderation.
well, why would you disagree with that?
So I disagree that because basically, long-windedly, you were saying that we have this relationship of the stars dropping by 1 degree, and that is enough for us to indicate when we draw lines between the points that we're on a spherical surface. Now, first off, before we move any further, did I get that part right or wrong?
Well, if I got you right, then you got it wrong. But maybe I got it wrong because you got it right. So the point is, it's not just the relationship itself. Like if I tell you there's a relationship of 6 nautical miles per degree, that alone doesn't tell you anything. But if you then get some data, like there's a star overhead to you, and from my location, I tell how high it is above the horizon to me, and we can do that for many different stars and different points on the surface of the Earth. We cross all that data. If that relationship holds, then we can tell what's the shape of the surface between those points. You can tell if they're all on the same plane or if they're not in the same plane. That can be determined based on the distances between those points.
So the points that you're talking about points between celestial objects or points here on the ground?
Points on Earth. Points on the ground.
On the ground. Okay.
You
So
you go 69 miles and you see there's a 1 degree change in that celestial object.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
okay, that doesn't really prove anything. And you do it again. Hold on. And you do it again and again. And you keep on doing this. And every time you go 69 miles, you see a 1 degree difference, regardless of where it is in the sky.
What about refraction?
So it's not going to. It has nothing to do with visual space or azimuthal visions or grids of vision. It doesn't mean it means nothing at all. And if you don't like that, just look at mountains that you know have known heights in distances and see how they line up with respect to each other. That's the easiest way, by the way.
Right. So you're gonna.
Yeah, we know that. I'm sorry. Yeah, we know the relationship is not very accurate if you're sighting celestial bodies too close to the horizon, where we can see that refraction is less consistent. So you have the refraction close to the horizon much less predictable than refraction far from the horizon, where this relationship holds the best. So where we have less refraction is where this relationship works the best.
Anyway, well, I understand the concept, right? These are actually very beginning, basic concepts. Like, well, okay, we see things drop in the distance, therefore curvature. We see things in the sky drop at a certain rate to our movement, therefore curvature, right? The thing is that none of what you guys are telling me takes into account any of the true assumptions of how we see, which is, again, that we are not seeing in Euclidean space. This whole orthographic view that we're looking here, Muppet vision, as Nathan Oakley likes to refer to, is not an accurate representation of how we see things in reality. You have to do it like this because it completely takes out of the picture perspective, completely takes it out. And
no, it doesn't.
You completely ignore
No, it doesn't.
And you guys literally
I have to disagree with that.
Hold on, I'm literally still talking. And you guys literally just hand waved away the hyperbolic vision, even though there is scientific papers that cite it, including the Alley experiment, which does say that we do have spherical access and in excess, depending on the relative position of objects to the observer. Right? It has nothing to do with actual physical curvature.
It's the way they're perceived. Effect. It's literally what you're measuring.
Can I respond to that? Because I read most of those articles. I spent at least 6 hours reading them, and none of the things you find in those articles would change in anything in what we're arguing here. First of all, the ones that say we have spherical axis, those are angles that are secondary. They're not angles that you're seeing yourself. They're angles you're estimating in a different point, like in something else that you're seeing. What's the name of those angles, Jesse? Remember that?
Oh, what's that?
Remember there are two types of angles: the ones that you have in your point of view, and there are angles you have in a third.
Egocentric and exocentric.
Exactly. So those are exocentric angles, nothing to do with the ones we're talking about, and those are specifically azimuths. So it's just a description of how inaccurate our estimations of exocentric angles are in azimuths when we need depth perception to estimate them. Nothing to do with elevation angles that we can measure directly.
So you don't think that the visual effect that you see, the curved visual space side to side, also applies linear up and down? Is that what you're saying?
Visual space doesn't exist when you're talking about measurements.
That is ridiculous. We literally
can measure these things. Troubling. We can measure these things very accurately and validate.
Don't just say you can. Hold on. Don't just, whoever's breathing in their mic, right, needs to chill. Please don't do claims like, well, we could just measure it, right? If you claim that you have a measurement, right, then present the measurement and show how it is.
I didn't say
that you measured it, right? Don't just claim we have measurements.
That wasn't the sentence I said.
That wasn't you. That was the other guy who had interrupted you.
I said that. Zach said that. You can measure it. It's very easy to measure it. It doesn't comport. It comports with all geometric and trigonometric laws and rules. There's no deviation at all.
Well, it was reverse engineered, so I mean, and no, there is deviation all the time. That's why there's refraction. That's why we see too far all the time.
I'm not talking about things,
I mean, there's also different elevations and problems with the not problems, but what's the word that I'm looking for? Imperfections in the geodetic model itself in the land. So for you to just say that it works perfectly every time, everywhere is just wrong on its face. There's all kinds of adjustments that you have to make
Oh,
it
guys,
work.
let's. Sorry, I was gonna say let's allow Bacon, because I think Bacon was sort of making a point, or he meant something.
Jesus kosher.
That's okay.
Don't call me
I'd like to
Jesus
address-
Kosho, dude.
I'd like to
No, but he
address
meant
that.
something by. Sorry, go ahead.
I said I'd like to address it
Yeah,
after Bacon's done.
Gosh.
yeah, the accesses all those visual space. I mean, we have when you're seeing something, you have the image that is being formed in your retina. You have the image that is formed inside of your brain, which is processed from what's being projected into your retina. Visual space happens after you have the image being processed. That's where visual space comes into play. It's not in the acquirement of the image, is how you interpret the image inside of your brain. When we're talking about angle measurements, that's before that. Visual space doesn't come into play when you talk about measurements of azimuths or elevation. It has no effect on that. It's something that comes later when you're interpreting images inside of your head. Doesn't affect anything
All right.
related to the measurements themselves.
I really want to address this. So here's the thing, right? There is no way that you could tell me that the effect of things dropping in the distance to the horizon, right, is something that only happens in my brain. It's something that happens for all observers who watch something go away from them, right? And it's not just going down, right? That's actually very, childish to say, but basically things have a vanishing point.
I said the
Right.
opposite.
So
Yeah, he didn't say that at all.
I said the exact opposite. The things dropping with distance isn't something that happens in your brain, because that's not related to visual space. What happens inside your brain is visual space, but how much something is dropping with distance comes before visual space, comes before you have to interpret the image. It comes from how it's getting projected to your retina. You can get the angle directly from the points where it's being projected in your retina, or a camera, so you don't have to deal with visual space because there's no brain processing the image. You have just the raw data
so
that
here's
the camera is capturing,
Bacon,
or
can
you
I
can
ask you a
just
quick question?
grab a tool like a sextant or
before
a
we,
theodolite and then measure the angle directly.
okay,
Then,
before we move on, 'cause, again, I just want to keep this like very simple, especially for the people who may be listening, because you are saying a lot of stuff and it's a lot to unpack sometimes. So I'll just say this, right? So things drop. Do you believe that things dropping in the distance and rising up, right, as they go away from you on the ground, is all of that a product of? Is all that something physical that actually happens, or is that an optical
Yes.
effect?
Happens. So I want to add one quick thing, troubling. This might maybe make it clear for you. If you're standing in your room and you're looking down at a corner on the ground, you're looking down. Now that distance downward to the corner is the same as the distance to your feet, yet you're not looking down to your feet. You're looking in the corner. You have a specific angle. Trigonometrically, that angle will be the rise over run, right? The height, your 6 feet divided by the distance to that object. That'll be the angle every time. So this is where everyone's been really confused about this whole curved visual space, azimuthal grid of vision of grid. That doesn't mean anything in reality. All it matters is the perspective is actually a trigonometric law and function about where things are in your field of view based on where they are and how far away from you they are. Now, if they are at your same height and they are 10 miles away, they're going to be really close to your eye level if they're at your same height. And if they go even further, they'll go even closer to your eye level, to the point where you can't tell. They'll be at a level that'll be almost immeasurable. But it will never go above your eye. It won't go down. It will always go up to eye level if you're on a flat surface. So we can measure things in the distance that aren't close to the surface when we have refraction, that actually show that objects, when you're looking down and the horizon is actually below eye level, that it can't be due to a flat surface.
Zanuck,
It has
wrap
to
it
be
up.
due to a curved surface.
My goodness, it's like I was gonna respond and then I got bored, stopped listening, and then forgot what I was gonna say. I apologize.
sorry
Well,
I don't blame you,
I can
bro.
make the same. I'm sorry. I can make the same claim I made the last time where you wanted to address. So I said that things drop with distance. That's something that happens in your retina or on a picture. You don't need visual space to get that. That happens before visual space. So you can get that with direct measurements. You don't need to process the image to
Okay.
know things are dropping distance.
Let me ask you this, because this is a genuine question as well. So anti-crepuscular rays, when the sun rays come out from the sun, appear to diverge to the observer and then reconverge on the other side of the horizon as a known phenomena. Is that something that physically happens, or is that something from visual processing?
That's an effect of projection. So the distance between the two rays isn't getting any closer or further. So if you're asking in that sense,
So
it's
if I
not
was
physical.
right, so this is what I'm trying to get at, right? So if we were to take a measurement, right? If I were to measure where this where the end of this beam is, right? As far as I can see it, the sun, right? If I'm going to measure this beam at the sun and then measure the position of this other of the side of the beam to the observer, and then measure the position directly behind you, are these measurements going to be in any way affected by how how the light is basically not really distorting, that's the wrong word, because basically it's not parallel, right? No, say it backwards.
They are parallel.
It is
They are
it's
parallel.
claimed to be parallel,
They are parallel
but it doesn't look to be
Really?
parallel. So you
because it's
wouldn't,
perspective.
Oh,
but you wouldn't measure it
they-
parallel, would you?
Yes, you
depends on
measure
how you're
parallel.
measuring it.
How would
If
you measure
you're
it?
simply taking a picture of it and seeing how those lines appear on a picture, then yeah, you might say those lines are not parallel on that picture. But that's not a way to measure if
What
two
if
lines
I-
are parallel, because you can take picture of railroad tracks and get the same thing even though they're parallel.
What if
That's
I put
not
a grid?
It's not a measurement
Like
of how
if
parallel they are.
If I put a grid and like with specific pixels and stuff, and then took a picture of that effect, right? Would that measurement be affected? We wouldn't measure that light as parallel, right? We would measure them as converging or diverging.
Can you see the chat real
No,
quick?
because you're not measuring the light rays. You're measuring a picture of the light rays. So
How would
the
you-
light rays are
Let me ask
the
you.
light rays are
How would you
the
measure
light
the
rays
actual?
are in 3D space.
How would you
If you want
actually?
to know if they're parallel to each other, you need to do that in 3D space. If you take a picture of it, you're removing one dimension. You're not measuring the
Okay.
light rays themselves. You're just measuring a projection of them in 2D space.
So I'm
Can
trying to
you-
get to a very specific point, right? And it's not a gotcha or anything. I'm logically working this out, right? So we're talking
Can
about
you-
making measurements to these objects that appear to be curving but are not, right? I'm talking about anti-crepuscular rays. How would you? Now you said add in 3D space. Can you be more specific? How would we actually measure the true position of that
That's
light
why I got a
beam?
picture in chat. Can you check the chat real
Oh,
quick? It might
Yeah,
help.
I'm looking at it right
You're
now.
Bacon. Okay. See that? Those are crepuscular rays, right?
Yep.
Now, if you were on a boat on either of those two lit up areas on the water, you're on a little sailboat, two people. I'm in one. I'm in the center. I'm the brighter one, and you're in the dimmer one to the left side of the picture. If you were on walkie talkies, and Bacon was sitting here taking the picture, and we're all on walkie talkies, and Bacon said, "Please point to the sun." Do you think you'd be pointing over to the right to point to the sun, and I'd be pointing straight up? So we'd have different angles because that's where the rays look like they're pointing, or would you
So
both be
pictures
pointing
are
straight up?
unreliable.
It's a simple question. Now, this might answer the questions altogether. If you get this right, you'll understand.
I mean, obviously, from the way the beams are looking, I'd say one guy would be pointing over a bit.
They're not at all. They both will be pointing the exact same direction in parallel.
Can
And
you
that is in
demonstrate it,
essence
though?
what a crepuscular ray
So
is.
you just
It
said
looks
that,
like
though.
you're going to be.
But you just said that, though. You didn't demonstrate that. You showed me the crepuscular rays. Where's the people underneath them, and how do I know that they're actually in the places that you say?
Well, the next picture I'll show you is a video of what happens as you're driving by this type of effect, and that also gives a very, very clear evidence and reasoning of why this happened, why this is. The sun is, and you know this to be. If you're two counties, L.A., I'm up here. We both have the sun up in the air at noontime. We're both going to be pointing straight up to the sun. The crepuscular rays are an effect of perspective. That's not, the rays aren't diverging from a center point. They are parallel, but they look like they're curved.
Is
He
anybody
thinks
going
the
to actually-
ground's
They look like
diverging.
they're diverging.
So
from the
can
sun.
someone tell me
They're
how
not.
we would actually measure that?
You could have someone in that boat and say, when I walkie-talkie, point where the sun is, and you would get a binoculars and look at him, and he'd be pointing straight up. and then the other person in the middle would be pointing straight up as
Hold on.
well.
Okay,
and
so
now you could measure that they're parallel.
let me extrapolate that, right? So I can put one person underneath one part of the light beam and one person on the other part of the light beam. They'll both point up and see a straight light beam because of their visual space being a relatively different position, and then they won't actually see the the effect. And we'll take those measurements as the true measurements.
I don't know what you said right there, but yes, if you're in those two different spots and you are going to find out where the sun is, they're both going to be pointing the exact same direction relative to a horizontal plane or a vertical plane.
So
even though it looks like there is a angle to the center lit area.
So here's the thing. Obviously, nobody can go to the other parts of these like sunbeams to verify. Nobody's going to the stars to actually verify. How do we verify and not just use like a thought experiment to say that we're a ball?
I can call you. Where's the sun? It's either vertical, straight up, or it's not.
Oh my goodness. You know it's only going to be straight above you when it's noon, right?
Let's say this picture is at noon.
You're just wrong right on your face, man. It's not noon for everybody in my general
No, in this picture. This picture it's noon.
This
it could be noon,
picture,
easy.
Dude.
Or it could be any time, but all we care about is that when whoever points the star or to the sun, the pointing fingers and arms they're going to be parallel with each other. That's the question.
Well, yeah, with sticks and shadows, like one at Capricorn, one at Cancer, and one at the equator. Are you telling me that the shadows are going to be parallel to each other? Because I don't think they will, Zanuck.
Yeah, what Zanuck is saying is way off.
Way off.
Not at all. It's exactly accurate.
Just not even close.
Gio, if you're on that lake and you're on a boat in those two lit areas and you point to the sun, you think one arm's going to be pointed at an angle to the sun and one's going to be pointing straight up?
Yeah, compared to the person taking the photo, absolutely. That's why the sun. That's why the quote unquote rays of the sun. I mean, they're not really rays, but that's why the direction of the light is projecting radially from the source.
Well, that's incorrect, because if you went there and you were seeing the sun, that means you would be it'd be in vision, in sight of you, and person right under that big bright spot will also see the sun right above him. It looks like you will have an angle. You can intuitively think that's what's going to happen, but in actuality, this is due to perspective, and you both will have to point to the sun straight up. Your arms will be parallel, and this is a little smaller scale experiment that you can easily test.
We went way far away from the point that I was trying to make, which is how do you determine the difference between something that has shifted from an optical effect and something that has literally shifted due to its actual position changing when you're dealing with something that's very far away that can drop literally because of perspective, right? How do I know the drop in the stars, that's 1 degree every 69 miles, is a curvature issue and not a perspective issue? How do I isolate it?
Because it gives you distances that don't fit on a plane.
Correct.
Like what?
Like say you have 4 points and you measure then all the inner distances between those 4 points using the 6 nautical miles per degree relationship.
How far do these points need to be?
Oh, depends on your margin of error. Depends on your error bar.
I've been told before that you need to have points that are like continents away. Is that true, or can I do it like super duper local?
To do super duper local, you need a very small error bar. I don't think you're gonna have an easier time doing that. It might be possible depending on what instruments you have.
How does making a square? Because I can make I can draw a square in my front yard right now, and I can guarantee you that doesn't prove I'm on a ball. So how does making a square between 4 different locations prove we're on a ball?
You can't draw a square on a ball.
If those 4 points are on a sphere, the diagonals compared to the sides are now going to be 1.14 and whatever is the rest of the square root of 2.
But even according to your geometry, right, that's at a certain scale, it's not going to matter. I'm going to be like, because I can go out to my front yard and draw a square. How big does the square have to be for me to start noticing this spherical excess, as they say?
Yeah, the start noticing is the key point in your question. That really depends on what kind of tools you're using. If you have very, very accurate tools, you might do in the same city. But if you're using just like a sextant or that you might need to have people in different continents. And if you're using a theodolite, maybe having people in the same country might be enough.
So again, even in the same country, right? We're relying on everything being accurate to the lat long system, which is something that's
Not
also
really.
presupposed.
Not really.
How do we verify the
Those what I'm
distance?
describing to you,
How do
you don't need that because you can go to a point where there's a celestial body right overhead. So everyone that is taking a sight to that celestial body know they're taking a sight to something that is directly above you. So we can use the relationship to get the distance between those points without having to know anything about any outdoor coordinates. Actually, you can do all this that I'm telling you without any coordinate. You don't need any coordinate for that. Only the angles you're measuring.
My goodness.
You
So
just need to have someone below the celestial body to confirm that
again,
that's where the
you're
celestial body is
basic.
overhead.
We just completely avoided the question of okay, the drop, 69 miles of the star. How do you know it's not due to literal it dropping due to you moving away to perspective? Because that would happen on a flat plane, would it not? Or are you one of those people that subscribes to there wouldn't be a horizon if the Earth was flat?
Oh yeah, things would still drop with distance on whatever Earth.
Would you say
The
that
rate.
if Earth was flat, right? Let's just say that you agree with me. If Earth was flat, would we have a hemisphere of vision around us? We obviously wouldn't be able to see forever, right?
Well, vision is passive, so I don't see how you can put you can only put a limit in the sense that of being able to resolve things because they're too small,
Right.
or there's too much noise in the way, so it gets hard to see. But that's you can only limit vision in that sense because it's like a passive action.
Communication.
Like your eyes don't send anything; they just receive stuff. So if it's coming from very far, if it's coming from very close, if it reaches your eye and strong enough, you're going to see it.
And that's what I'm trying to say. So obviously, the light doesn't travel forever. There's attenuation. There's fog. There's the
Sure,
fact
yeah,
that it literally
definitely.
spreads out, inverse square law of light. But then there's also the visual perspective of things literally dropping to the horizon as they get further away from you as well. So these are things that are happening at the same time. None of this has been shown to me in any of the globe math whatsoever. Can you show me where this is taken into account?
Well, why not? Like the linear relationship is something you can derive. Well, not fog and not attenuation. All that would make light weaker.
So
It wouldn't change light direction.
how much of the
So
69 degrees is drop? How much of the drop of the star is due to perspective, and how much is due to curvature?
you can separate both. Um, the perspective of a curved surface is what gives you a linear relationship. So it's not that one is some percentage and the other is another percentage.
I would argue
It's
that
like all the same thing.
I would argue that we'd still have a linear relationship on a flat surface. I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't.
Well, you can easily test that in your room.
So if we have
Just get a camera.
if we have a limited sphere of vision, right? And let's beg the question for the flat Earth for a second, right? We do it for the globe all the time. We'll do it for the flat Earth. If the Earth was a globe, right, and we see in a limited sphere around us due to all these different factors, right? And then people looked at the way that we see, and saw things curving, and then assumed that that was due to the Earth curving, right? Would the fact that everything matches up like that actually be proof that the Earth is curving, or how do we separate, right? Because that's the one thing I'm still not hearing. How do we separate between what we're seeing as optical and what is literally, supposedly, the curvature of the Earth?
That's why I'm not arguing that the nature of the drop is what proves curvature, but the distances it gives you. If the relationship holds, the distances it gives you doesn't fit on a plane, and it fits what you would expect on a sphere.
Well, how you haven't demonstrated that though.
Well, I can get some examples for you.
To hold you to pure geometry, troubling.
No, I
No
have
effects
some
with the
elevation
atmosphere.
angles. I have some elevation angles.
So I'm assuming
Actually, they're all angles. They're all readings above 30 degrees, so refraction is negligible.
But
No one
here's the
corrects
thing.
for reflection in those conditions. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say it's just a circle, right? The angles dropping can be due to perspective, and your verification that it's not perspective is that there's been a hypothetical model backwards engineered with these places with these somewhat known distances already placed in that.
Nope.
How I'm just not seeing how just I'm shooting a theodolite measurement, to these 3 different locations from me. How does that prove we're on a ball?
Oh, that depends. Is there a relationship of 6 nautical miles per degree? If there is, then you can definitely tell if those 4 points are on the same plane or not, based on the distances between them.
But you just said before that you couldn't separate between just purely perspective, as in what would happen just from it moving further away, and what would happen due to a curved surface, right? So how do you, again, it's a big circle, right? How do you determine the difference between the perspective and the physical curvature? You're just saying, well, the math works, right? But that's not actual proof that it works, right? Or that the model
So
is
I'm not
what
sure
it
if you're
is.
asking for
The visual
proof
space.
or
Okay, so the drop, the 1 degree of every 69 miles can literally be the rate of which stuff drops due to perspective. How do you verify that that's a curvature rate? Where's the experiment? Where's the control? How do we actually do this to where we can verify it?
because if you go to your backyard, take some elevation angles, and ask for the people below those celestial bodies to do the same, you end up with distances that don't fit a plane.
Like what?
You can, if you don't want to take the trouble, you can just go to Stellarium, because it's pretty accurate to get those same angles without having the trouble to.
He's just saying just because it does.
All right.
No, not really.
Yeah, I'm asking for a demonstration.
Sorry?
I'm asking for a demonstration or an example.
I'll give you a sample example. Give me 1 second.
And then I am going to examine all the fallacious assumptions in the example as well. Just a heads up.
That's if you find anything. Yeah, I was gonna say that's if you find any fallacious.
I'll drop in text chat.
In the text chat, there's also a motion of the clouds actually moving. You see how the crepuscular rays actually are moving. Some are actually going completely horizontal from going vertical as the clouds move over them. Doesn't mean that people wouldn't see the sun in the exact same position no matter where you were in this picture.
Here's the problem with that, though. When we gauge the distances on a flat Earth compared to the globe, it's only off by 1 degree at 1,500 miles. So who's verifying these distances over 1,500 miles? Over a few degrees, it's exact. So even within a couple hundred miles, there's no difference. There's no margin of error you could meet to gauge the difference. I think Troubling is making a good point. He's asking for proof. You are just invoking your model.
Right.
It wasn't challenging the relationship.
If there was a globe, doesn't things when they move far away, like over the horizon, don't they disappear from the bottom first, and so part of it is obscured versus if it was a flat Earth and it was just perspective, then the entire thing would just shrink, and you'd still see the bottom, basically.
Before we move on to that point, because we just recently addressed that on Globebusters. That's an easy point. Slam dunk. Thanks for teaming me up. But yeah, basically to get back to the point of the stars dropping, right? You're saying that, well, you have to challenge you basically put this tunnel, right? Where you're saying, well, you have to challenge the relationship in order for your claim to be valid. And that's simply not the case. You're claiming that the relationship is proof, right? Without demonstrating that the relationship is proof.
I posted it. Like the relationship plus data. It's not the relationship alone. Is if you gather the relationship, gather some data, combine those, you get distances that definitely don't fit a plane. I posted an example on the chat 15 minutes past the hour.
Okay, so dumb this down for me. What is the distances in nautical miles? 24, 24, 24, 35, 39. What is this?
Yes, we have
this point for?
You have 4 points on the surface. Each one of them have a star that passes overhead at some point in time. That's where the time is for. It's to know where that star passes over that point. So point A and B, both of them, you have the nebula passing overhead. And point C and D, you have Nunki, which is another star. I'm not sure if that one is in the almanac. I think it is.
Oh, this is okay. So before we move on, you did exactly what I said you were going to do, and you're assuming the lat long system. That's what these. Oh, never mind.
No.
Sorry.
I didn't.
Stupid. Never mind. Forget I said anything. That was dumb.
All right. Yeah, that long is only there so if you want to verify quicker, you can go to the location on Stellarium, but I didn't use it for anything. It's just there for you to
Right.
more
Yeah,
easily
I seen
verify.
that. I was like, no, it's not actually bleeding into the data, but yeah. So again, your claim is that, well, these distances don't work, right? So you're talking about the ground position. The distance on the ground is too far for the flat Earth, for the plane Earth. So what city, or okay, so it says right here Denebola, or is that something else? That's a star. Those are the stars.
Yeah, that's a star. Yeah.
Okay. What city, or where are these places at, and how far are these away from each other?
All the distances are there. Go ahead, Jason.
Is this the one you had me do up with the little paper strips?
Did you have a score one?
Who's
No, this was
verified any of these distances, man?
This was the kite shape. I have
We'll get
pictures of
there.
the kite shaped one.
I do need to wrap this up here very, very soon, though. So I do apologize for cutting here soon, but I do want to.
Never mind.
I do want to finish up the points, though.
Right. Yeah.
Could I try explaining it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So the basic issue is, let's say the Earth was flat and you're on the North Pole. You're looking, and the North Star will be straight above you, right?
Sure.
Right. Okay. Now, let's say you move out 3,000 miles away from the center of this flat Earth, and you find the North Star to be 45 degrees down from straight overhead, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's assume 10 people moved out.
What if you move out another 3,000 miles? So now you've moved out 6,000 miles. What will the angle be from a flat plane to Polaris?
He's trying to invoke pure geometry, but what if 10 people move from the center? What if we all? It's all geometry, Janik. What if we all? What if 10 people? What if 10 people moved 3,000 miles away? We'd all get the same angle, right?
That was a question to someone else. You can address for later. Let's first get the answer.
Up on him. I'm just trying to give him a little assistance here.
No, you don't need assistance. He wants the answer.
You're fine. So again, if we assume no refraction, no other, if we assume pure geometry, pure spherical geometry, and then you said 6,000 miles and it gets a 45-degree angle, or did I mishear you?
Yeah, 3,000 miles would be 45-degree angle.
Okay.
Down from straight up. And I'm asking then, what would 6,000, twice the distance of the 3,000 be?
45-degree angle from, and that's like halfway. I'm trying to visualize it. I don't have a protractor in front of me.
Halfway is 45 degrees. That tells us that Polaris would be also 3,000 miles high, right? Because 45 degrees is a right.
We need to know the height, bro. We need to know the height to Polaris. So that's a rigged question, bro, and you know it.
It's all it's not. It's all good. So here's the thing, right? So again, it's simply saying that, okay, so if it's this much degrees, then that means that it has to be this high. No, we're dealing with apparent positions, not the actual position. So, and you're also still assuming pure geometry without any of the other variables at all. So I would say that typically, just thinking about it off the top of my head, that if you moved 9,000 miles away from the North Star, that you wouldn't be able to see it.
Why?
I think he was asking 6,000.
Why would you be able to see it?
Well, for one, he said 6,000 miles more from the 3,000, so that's why I said 9,000. But why wouldn't you be able to see it? Because things drop, right? So you have drop due to perspective, right?
It'll never drop below the horizon, will it? Nothing will ever block it. It'll always be above.
That's not true. So
it
can approach. So according to, and this is according to physics, in particular, Blitz PhD brought this to my attention, that typically when you see something approaching the horizon like that, it'll never get all the way to zero or to negative. It'll always be slightly above zero. Now, he did say you can get all the way down to like 0.0000000000001, right? It basically would effectively be zero. And at that point, I mean, shoot, anything on the horizon can block it. You got mountains, you got trees, you got houses, you got different elevations. You got optical effects due to refraction
So
and thick
Can
atmos.
you look at the chat real quick? Because you're going on way out on a tangent. We've made a real clear
Geometry is
scenario
26
so
to
you can actually think
25
this through for
roughly.
us.
I'm in chat
We
right
If you're
now.
just
45 to 1,000 miles
26 and a half degrees, bro. If you're just looking for pure geometry, y'all not listening to his
from you.
point, man.
The point. No, we made the scenario. We wanted to ask his response on it. We said 45 degrees. We have 3,000 nautical miles. That's how far we went. That's the change. We actually measured that, and it's still kind of relatively straight up. There's no refraction to worry about because it's up in the sky, 45 degrees. Now we go another 3,000 miles. Where is that? Where's that star going to be?
Wait, are you
On the
are you
horizon?
3,000 miles away from the star, or 3,000 miles across the surface away from
GP. We're dealing with
Polaris?
GP,
Away from the GP.
which is really funny because one of the ways that you can do celestial navigation apparently is to just take elevation angles to the stars and then extend the line of sight directly to the horizon all the way to the GP of the star directly beneath it, and then assume 290 degrees, and you will be able to get to your location. So if it,
Wait,
That's completely false.
If
That's
that,
not how
if that,
celestial
hold on.
navigation works
If
at
that,
all.
if that's a problem for
It
you, if
is.
that's a problem for you, not getting the details and getting any kind of argument about sextants, there's an aviation sextant or even a protractor hanging over the plumb bob. Let's get an angle from vertical. We all know we can get a vertical angle to the ground. Let's just get a vertical angle, and that vertical angle
why are
to
we
the
jumping
to
points
the
though?
star. Hold on, before you interrupt. Before you go anywhere, just think about this. We have a vertical angle to the star. It's called the co-altitude angle. It's 45 degrees, and we've gone 3,000 miles. We've measured it with this protractor and just a hanging plumb bob. So forget about horizon, forget anything else. No 90s to worry about. Just an angle to the
Straw
star.
man, you got to have a
It's
90
not a straw. It's not a straw man. This is
GP.
exactly the point. We don't worry about all the other nonsense. That makes it more complicated. Just off of vertical. That's all we need to know because we know that to be true. We go 3,000 miles. We see 45-degree angle to that
So
star.
Trebling didn't just say you need a 90 degrees at the GP of the
We
star, and
don't
you'd
need
bring
a
up a vertical overhead. That's a
no,
straw man.
no. We just want it. We want it to be parallel to vertical. At the GP, it just is straight up vertical. We go 3,000 miles.
That's the
It's
90
45
degrees.
degrees.
What is
Now what
straight up
happens when we
vertical?
go?
Straight up vertical is
What?
90 degrees.
No. Forget about 90 degrees. Just
No,
forget about
we're not going to
any
forget
degrees
about
at
it.
all. It's just parallel. It's just 90 degrees straight up. It's just that line goes right to the North Star. It's perfectly parallel with the plumb bob. It is the plumb
From the
bob. It's
flat
pointing
Earth,
to the star.
it is
So
parallel.
we don't have to worry about any kind of 90s. All we have is a vertical plane. That's the GP. Now we go 3,000 miles and we see that it's 45 degrees.
Sure.
Okay. What happens when we go 3,000 miles?
You go 3,000 miles more, you shouldn't be able to see it.
What if we go 2,000 miles more?
According to my calculation, it's about 26 and a half degrees. That's if you're putting it at 3,000 foot height. Nobody's claiming the height, and you just
You
said
don't
they
need to know
have to
the
be
height.
parallel. You just said they
You
have
don't
to
need to
be
know the height. All
parallel.
we're doing is saying what we see in reality. What
You
we see in
invoke 90
reality is
to.
that
Why you got to
we
interrupt,
go
Zanuck?
3,000 miles and we have 45 degrees to measurement.
Okay, you invoke 90 degrees straight above your head, and
I
then
didn't say
said it
90.
doesn't
I
have
said
to be
vertical.
90 above the
Straight up.
GP.
That's the GP, straight up.
So
No 90s.
I know someone's already done this analysis. I can post a picture in the live stream chat about this if you want the answer.
Yeah, post it.
It's a straw man. Y'all are just veering off of his questions.
Yeah, I think you guys already have it.
No, this is geometry.
Oh
This
no,
is trig.
pack it up.
Simple trigonometry.
This is trig. Come
Oh,
on.
we totally didn't.
So
we
you
didn't
think
take into
Earth
account the way
is
the stars
trig.
moved. We got to pack
We
it
got
up.
50 degrees and it's 3,000. We actually measure this. We know if we go 3,000 nautical miles, we will have a 50-degree angle. Do you not agree with that?
You know, how can we agree with you and you can't even
Brian?
agree that it's a 90-degree angle at the GP?
You
It
literally
doesn't.
agree with nothing that
Brian,
we
did
say.
you miss the vertical? We don't care 90. All we care about is vertical, straight up,
If
right
you
above
guys
our head.
want, I'm pretty good at the old math. I can figure this out for you specifically, but I have one question for you. I'll be assuming that Polaris is essentially infinitely far away, so the light rays hitting us are parallel, or is it a certain number of
We don't know. We don't care how
miles
far it is. All we know
Oh,
is
yeah,
that it's
you do.
straight
You
up.
said it's 3,000 miles, so use 3,000 miles.
above
No, 3,000 miles
above
down.
the GP, right?
Well,
3,000 miles away from the GP.
3,000 miles is what it has to be on your flat Earth if it's at a
No,
45
no, no,
degree
no.
angle.
It doesn't matter what we're on. He said 3,000
Well,
miles. Let's
stop,
see if it
stop,
works
listen,
on a
listen.
globe.
If we're on the flat Earth, if we're on the flat Earth and it's 3,000 miles away and it's at a 45-degree angle, it has to be 3,000 feet up by trigonometry.
So we need the height to the star, but y'all don't. The height to the star is irrelevant in celestial navigation, and y'all know it. Y'all are not being honest, man.
On the flat Earth, on the flat Earth, it has to be that way in order to work.
That's not true.
This what you mean is trig. It's trig.
There's no way it works on
trig.
flat Earth.
It's trig.
Why can't you guys figure out the next step here of this problem? I said
I already told you the answer,
50
bro.
degrees or
Okay?
45, whatever you want to use.
You're strong
We know for a fact, Brian, that if I have a plumb bob on the North Pole, that's the GP. If I go 3,000 miles, I'm going to get a 50 for 3,000 nautical miles. And if it's 3,000 miles, I'll get 45 degrees, 2,000, something close to that. Anyway, in that range.
So how's that work on a globe?
If we go another 1,000 miles, for example, what do you expect it to be?
You just assigned a height to us, and once again, the height does not matter in celestial navigation. It is irrelevant. So let's assign that height to the globe, and guess what? It don't work. And you're gonna have to.
You can't use a height.
You can't do that on a globe.
Don't assign one to us, then.
It won't work.
You have to, and on a flat Earth, if you're 3,000 miles away at a 45-degree angle, trigonometry says it is 3,000 miles high. Has to be.
No, you have to on a globe, not on a flat Earth. You
Trigonometry.
That's the point, Brian. You're not getting it. You're just not getting it, Brian. Seriously.
Brian, yeah,
They're not being honest. We've been through this a million times. They're not being honest.
Right?
Well, hold on. Brian, there's a reason why we're saying it has to be a certain height on the flat Earth, right? Because on the globe, we're actually changing our orientation as we, move across the surface, right? Because it's a sphere, right? So as you walk across the surface, you're going to be tilting, in a different direction. On a flat Earth, you don't do that, right? So you need it. So what you need to do is, in order for you to get the 45-degree angle, whatever, you need to have, right, Polaris, as high as you are far away from its, ground position. All right. On the globe, we don't need that though, because it's a different scenario. It's a different situation.
Did you verify your height to Polaris, Armador?
Wait, what?
How did you verify your height to Polaris? And at what point did you verify your height to Polaris?
Infinitely far away.
So the height doesn't matter then, right?
It does on the flat Earth. It has to be. It has
to matter on the flat Earth.
You can't even do your calculations from where you take the measurement. You have to go to an imaginary place at the center of your sphere.
Brian, this is the problem with you, is that you don't understand your own model, that if it's 45 degrees and it's 3,000 miles away from the GP, trigonometry requires it be 3,000 miles high.
Trigonometry? Then tell me the trigonometry on your ball.
Yeah, with no hyperbolic space, with no.
It's not trigonometry on the ball.
We're stuck.
Single.
All right, guys.
There's no flat Earth model.
Well, we've successfully devolved into a dumpster fire.
It's a one-to-one relationship.
I'm gonna go ahead.
Okay, guys, one at a time. With this is getting out of hand. We were doing good. Let's keep it that way.
Troubling Tribune. Stop by. We appreciate it. It's nice talking to you. I know you got to go, but I just wanted to say bye and thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, thanks for you guys having me, for being so willing to engage and bringing points that weren't just the usual stuff that I deal with. So I do appreciate that. It was entertaining. It is, as Nominal said in the chat, it is time to go ahead and land the plane, right? So I'm going to say this piece, and I'm going to hop on out. I appreciate it. If anybody wants to follow along, if you're late to the chat and want to catch the whole conversation, then go check out the YouTube and Rockfin, Troubling Tribune. We appreciate it. All right. So, yeah, long story short, you guys are essentially strawmanning the flat Earth. You're also burden shifting all at the same time, trying to claim that, well, because you don't know all the parameters or how certain things would work in the flat Earth, therefore, obviously, ball. The thing is that the globe ignores the assumptions and ignores, for one, a whole bunch of fallacious stuff that comes that way, like all the things in the sky are circles, therefore we're sphere. We have a calculation for the way that things, for the speed of things dropping, therefore moons orbiting Jupiter is the same force. Like, it's ridiculous on its face. Trying to say that the star's position is a debunk of the flat Earth is completely ignoring the evidence that we have of astrolabes and sailors traveling long before we ever had the concept that the Earth was a globe. But, oh, wait. Sorry, you guys assumed that everybody thought, or quote, knew that the Earth was a globe in BC, thanks to the ancient Greeks, thanks to some unverifiable stories. So I've asked for proof for multiple claims and have gotten none. I've just gotten little diagrams, Muppet vision, and things that admittedly do not take into account perspective or hyperbolic space. Hyperbolic space has been
This is kind of cringe.
basically hand waved away. And so, yeah, with that, I bid you all adieu. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's not fair.
Yeah, I know it wasn't, was it?
I'll pile up a lot of things on
Nobody
a
else
lot of
gotta
claims
gang
on the
up on him
table
like that,
before I
bro.
go.
You literally
He's right.
Zanuck.
Listen to him whine. That wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. That's super funny. All right, let's go ahead and get back to the main page. This has been fun. Discord always offers some good opponents. I say good, but I meant to say entertaining. I was fairly entertained. But yeah, I do appreciate everybody coming on, checking out. Let's go ahead and do a quick shout out. We haven't done one of those in a little bit. Shout out, been since the beginning of the show, right? Awesome. Okay, start with the Rockfin Legends. We got quite a bit going on over here. Oh, nice. I got some tips to shout out. Thank you guys a ton. All right, let's go ahead. We got Robotic Double. We have Robert Hunt. Man, you should have been here just a little bit earlier. We could have done the open panel still. Just use 3 sticks in a triangle, and you can rule out the nearby sun. Possibly. We also have... Oh, here we go. Leland Wilt. Thank you so much for the generous donation, and I do appreciate you noticing the patience. You know, we do try to let everybody land their plane. That way we can have a great conversation. Zanuck had a bit of a problem with that. But hey, what can you do, right? FioDio, server link. It's actually in the YouTube. If you guys go to the YouTube chat, I have it posted there because it was easy at the time. But sorry. That is Flat Earth Awakenings, Earth Awakenings channel. You can go just search them. Pretty easy to find. We also have Smoking in Sharp or in G Sharp. Nice. Soaking a G Sharp shoving here. Nice. Shoving. That's awesome. All right, and of course, Justin Johnson, Gershom Grossman, much love. Jeremy Bird. Let's jump over to the legends over at YouTube as well. Lots of stuff going on here. My goodness. All right. Let's try to make sure we don't miss it. We got Admiral B, Shifty Ice Shady, Boo Ranch. I heard that you're over near Rainbow River. We're probably going to have to link up here soon. That's awesome. Hot dogs for sale. We got Nominal. We got Justin Johnson. Better late than never. That is right. That is right. We got Kevin Doble. Science works in mysterious ways. We have Smoking in G Sharp. Awesome. Welcome. Welcome to the Tribune Tribe. All right. We also have Nominal and Dr. Law. Coach O heard about troubling through Ruhif, and they all work for the same agency. It's quite possible. Shout out to Justin Johnson for the $5 tip. Generous donation. Thank you, my friend. Lord Racer. We got MrTribune. We will be seeing you shortly. Sorry that I'm late. All right. Who else do we got? I think that about covers it. If I missed you, you must be towards the back. So make sure that you're commenting, right? And then we'll be able to shout you out. I thought I saw some memberships go out earlier as well. Where are those? Awesome. Yeah, Justin Johnson, legendary, man. Gifting out 5 memberships. Huge. Guys, we are going to be doing some membership-only streams here very, very soon. It's going to be phenomenal, right? You're going to get bonus content, at least 4 hours a month of bonus debates. You will also be receiving... Oh, wow, this was late. It's just now rolling through. It's super funny. That was the late shout-out. What can you do? Femi Gomez, you also get shouted out. Thrash List Smith, awesome. I really do need to load this up, though, real quick, because what is a True Earth debate? What is this show without having the intro? Oh, sorry, the outro. Let's go ahead and get it. Excuse me. Yeah, tremendous conversation we had tonight. Let's try to mute this. Awesome. Good and muted. There we go. Yeah, shout out once again to the fundraising efforts over at GoFundMe. We really appreciate it. And we did drop some new merch if you haven't seen it yet. We actually just dropped it today. True Earth Zealot coming soon, though. But go check it out. We got some cool stuff. Excuse me. It is about time that I get the heck on out of here. So I do appreciate it, guys. Much love. The Globetards were 100% triggered. But that is what we are here for, I suppose. Just kidding. Hopefully, if we shake the snow globe enough, then they'll wake up out of their trance. So, in any case, I will see you guys Wednesday for a True Fate debate. That's right. We're not waiting any longer. We got the thumbnail already made. It's going to be awesome. So go and check that out. In the meantime, please enjoy some music to wear finger gloves to. Peace.